Chapter 29:35. Don't look down on me, alright? 3. Seeing that the siblings were finally tactful, Lung Ruoxue and the rest did not make things difficult for them. They walked around the dumbfounded woman and left. As they walked out of the siblings' house, Mingji kept grumbling to Lung Ruoxue and the others about his grievances, which made everyone happy. Soon, they arrived at the house of the last man. Uncle Long was in charge of that man, and at that moment, Uncle Long was fighting with him. It wasn't that the man was smart or quick-witted, but he was obviously a bit difficult to deal with. He didn't answer Uncle Long's questions directly, which wasted a lot of Uncle Long's time. He didn't get any useful information. The only thing Uncle Long knew was that the man had never seen or heard of a phoenix. However, Uncle Long had already received Shui Air's voice transmission and knew that the other 4 Shui Airs had confirmed that they were no longer suspicious. As such, the man in front of him was the most suspicious person. At this moment, Uncle Long was casually chatting with him. When Lung Ruoxue and the rest arrived, they sat in the living room of the man's house and stared at each other. When they had just entered, the man had already told Lung Ruoxue that he had not even seen a single phoenix feather before. After sitting for a while, Lung Ruoxue received a message from Green Vessel. "Sister, I can't read this man's memory." "Why can't I read it?" Lung Ruoxue asked in confusion. "I suspect that he has a divine weapon that can block my mind reading." Qingju guessed. "There's such a divine weapon?" Lung Ruoxue was a little surprised. This was the first time she had heard of such a divine weapon. In the past, the old master liked to make some messy things, so he once made a divine artifact that could block people from reading their minds. However, that divine artifact was very useless. Other than preventing people from reading their minds, it had no other use. Back then, the old master also made it for fun. After he finished, he seemed to have given it away. As for who he gave it to, I can't remember clearly. Qingju said honestly. "What do we do now?" Lung Ruoxue was out of ideas. Initially, he thought that Qingju would be able to help if the man refused to cooperate. Now, Qingju had no other way. Moreover, the man's mouth was shut more tightly than the clamshell. Was there any way to pry his mouth open? Lung Ruoxue glanced at the man and saw that he was calm and composed. She knew that this man was not an ordinary person to deal with. There's no other way. Unless we reveal our identity, the premise is that they must be interested in or afraid of our identity. Otherwise, we can forget about it. Qingju said helplessly. Lung Ruoxue felt even more helpless. Revealing her identity was the last resort. She wasn't so narcissistic that she thought that once she said her name, people would immediately tell her what she wanted to know. But now, she really didn't know what to do. Why don't we just wait here? Let's see who can outlast who? Lung Ruoxue, who couldn't think of any good ideas, decided to stay here rather calmly. Of course, this wasn't the best plan. It was a more shameless way of doing things. The man could tell as well. At first, he was quite calm, but as time went on, especially when it was late at night and the neighbors in front of him still didn't have any intention of leaving, he felt a little annoyed. "It's getting late." After thinking for a long time, the man reminded. "Yes." Lung Ruoxue nodded her head to show that she understood. However, none of them had any intention of leaving. They continued to sit there like old monks in meditation. "Schwer, I'm hungry," Uncle Long said pitifully. When she heard Uncle Long say that he was hungry, Lung Ruoxue quickly took out a pile of food from her bracelet. Then, the few of them gathered together and started eating as if there was no one else around. When the man saw this scene, he was a little confused. What the hell is this? She was sitting in his living room and eating in front of him. Why didn't she treat him, the host? The dishes that the little girl had brought out were so fragrant that he was so envious that his appetite was about to burst out. However, she had completely ignored him as if he did not exist. This fact made the man deeply depressed. "I say, you guys are just going to eat and drink in front of me?" The man couldn't take it anymore and asked angrily. "You want to eat?" Lung Ruoxue blinked her beautiful eyes as she asked. "Yes, I do." The man was very honest. "Tell me where the 3 phoenixes are and I'll treat you to some." Lung Ruoxue stated her conditions. I really don't know. The man said helplessly. He felt depressed in his heart. Can you not be like this? This was bullying. Since you don't want to cooperate, I have no other choice. Lung Ruox's face was filled with regret. Then, she ignored the man's existence and turned around to eat. Everyone finished eating the food in front of the man and burped. They continued to stare at each other. Seeing them like this, the man really wanted to scratch the wall. How could they bully people like this? This was his home. The man glared at Lung Ruoxue and her group of people. However, Lung Ruoxue and her group had long been trained to be thick-skinned, so why would they care? Lung Ruoxue and the rest had decided to fight to the death with the man. Let's see who can last longer. Thanks. Several days later, the man was on the verge of a mental breakdown. These people's skin was already so thick that it was unimaginable. He had even opened his mouth to drive them away, but they refused to leave. The man was quite helpless about this outcome. What to do? They couldn't be driven away. He could not beat him. And these people always ate delicious food in front of him that he had never seen before, making him drool all over the ground, but they never invited him to eat. A bunch of bastards. The man who had been provoked to the point of stomping his feet was so hateful that he wanted to bite them a few times. They were really too hateful. The man admitted that he had lived for so long, but he had never seen such a rascal. What do you want? After 3 days, the man finally asked listlessly. We just want to know where the 3 phoenixes are. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Don't tell me you don't know. If you still say that, then we can only continue to stay here and stare at you. Lung Ruoxue added. You guys, you've really gone too far. If you don't want to leave, then I'll leave, the man roared. I'm afraid of you guys. Well, follow you wherever you go. Lung Ruoxue continued to be a scoundrel. Hearing this, the man was furious. I really admire your thick skin. The man sighed and said sincerely. Thank you for the compliment. Lung Ruoxue nodded, then looked at the man with a serious expression. She asked curiously, You look like this now, is it because you were poisoned? How did you know? The man was shocked. Although he looked a little old, even an alchemist couldn't tell that he had been poisoned. Now, this woman had seen through it with a single sentence. How did she know? I guessed it. Your face is old, but your body is still tall and straight. You look young and healthy. I guess you forced the poison to your face. Are you afraid of being recognized? Lung Ruoxue continued to guess. This is none of your business. The man said indifferently. Actually, what I wanted to say is, if you're willing, I can help you detoxify. Lung Ruoxue said honestly. I told you, I don't know where the phoenix is. The man looked at Lung Ruoxue and said, It's just an antidote. If you really don't want to tell me the whereabouts of the 3 phoenixes, I won't force you. Lung Ruoxue explained when she saw that the man had misunderstood her. Why? The man didn't understand. Before, he had indeed thought that this was the other party's condition, but he didn't expect that the woman in front of him would actually be willing to detoxify him unconditionally. Was this possible? More importantly, his poison wasn't that easy to cure. We've been sharing a room for a few days. It's only right for me to help you. Just treat it as paying for your accommodation. Lung Ruoxue smiled. However, the man clearly did not believe Lung Ruoxue's words so easily. He kept looking at Lung Ruoxue suspiciously. This is an antidote pill, eat it. To show her sincerity, Lung Ruoxue took out a blue pill and handed it over. Normal antidotes can't cure my poison, the man replied honestly. This isn't an ordinary antidote. What, you don't dare to eat it? Are you afraid that it'll poison you too? Lung Ruoxue provoked him on purpose. I'm not afraid. The man knew that she was trying to goad him into action, but he didn't want to be looked down upon by a woman. So, he reached out to take the pill and swallowed it. Not long after, the man clearly felt a burning pain in his stomach. In the end, he couldn't stand the pain anymore. He directly covered his stomach and rolled from the chair to the ground. He was in so much pain that he started rolling. The man was very tough. Although he was in pain, he clenched his teeth without making a sound. Sweat slid down his forehead and soon, his face was as pale as paper, and his eyes were unfocused. Swear he, Uncle Long, who had a good impression of the man, was worried. It's fine, Uncle Long. Please help me bring him back to his room. Lung Ruoxue gave Uncle Long a comforting look. Hearing this, Uncle Long quickly carried the man back to his room. Lung Ruoxue and the rest were still waiting in the living room. After a few hours, the man finally ended his painful torture and walked out of the room. At this time, his face no longer had the old look he had before. Although he could not be considered handsome, he was quite elegant. However, after a few hours of torture, he looked a little weak. What kind of antidote is this? Why does it hurt so much? The man could not help but ask Lung Ruoxue the moment they came out. That's right, because what I gave you wasn't an antidote pill, but poison. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. Upon hearing this, the man's face turned even paler. He glared at Lung Ruoxue in disbelief. The hatred in his heart. He knew that this woman was up to no good. Now, he had been tricked again. However, he didn't know what kind of poison he had been poisoned with, because he couldn't feel any discomfort in his body at all, except that he was a little weak. Chapter 2936, The Twins, 1. However, no one would be in a good mood when they heard that they were poisoned again. The man glared at Lung Ruoxue for a long time with complicated feelings. He did not say anything. After a moment, Lung Ruoxue smiled and said, "Don't worry, your poison has already been detoxified. Don't you feel that your body is in great condition now? Of course, if you insist on thinking that you've been poisoned by another type of poison, I have no objections." Lung Ruoxue's infuriating words left the man speechless. He continued to glare at Lung Ruoxue. After a long time, he finally said, "I'm really not poisoned? If I say no, would you believe me?" Lung Ruoxue blinked her eyes and asked with a smirk, "Can you not believe me?" The man was furious. Having lived for so many years, he had seen all kinds of people, but this was the first time he had seen someone as infuriating as the woman in front of him. At this moment, Dong Fangyu stood up and shook his head helplessly. "Swear, don't scare him. We're old friends." Hearing Dong Fangyu's words, Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but raise her brows. The man also looked at Dong Fangyu in surprise and asked, "Old friend? Do we know each other?" When the man asked this, he was still sizing up Dong Fangyu. He couldn't tell that this ordinary-looking, even somewhat ugly, fellow was someone he knew. Guardian Wing, Dong Fangyue. Dong Fangyu sighed. Dong Fangyue? The missing Dong Fangyue? The man, also known as Wei Yi, turned pale with fright and sized him up even more seriously. "You're the one who's missing." Dong Fang was getting angrier. "Do you have any proof that you're Dong Fangyu?" Wei Yi ignored Dong Fangyu's rage and continued to ask. The suspicion on his face only increased. "Do you need evidence?" Dong Fangyu was speechless. Could it be that someone would dare to impersonate him? Or did this guy meet a fake Dong Fangyu? Of course I do. Because the Dong Fangyu I know doesn't look like you at all. Besides, your temperament is very different from the Dong Fangyu I know, so I have enough reason to suspect that you're lying to me unless you have evidence. Wei Yi looked at Dong Fangyu with a face full of vigilance. At the same time, he felt a little regretful. If he had known that he would be recognized, he would have dressed up properly. He had been too careless. He had never thought that after so many years, there would still be people who remembered his existence. Could it be that they were on someone's side? If that was the case, then they would be in big trouble. Wei Yi had a headache. What should he do in this situation? Self-defense or counterattack? Looking at Lung Ruoxue, Wei Yi's heart was at a loss. Although the other party had given him poison, it had indeed cured him of the poison. As for whether there would be any residual effects, he couldn't determine at the moment. Naturally, he couldn't decide what attitude he should have towards these people in front of him, especially when someone among them recognized him. Although that person called himself Dong Fangyu, it was clearly not an easy task to persuade him. Lung Ruoxue could tell what the other party was thinking. She smiled faintly and said, "He is indeed Dong Fangyu. As for why he is different from the people you know, it's simple. He has changed his appearance." "Really? Then remove your disguise and let me see." Hearing this, Wei Yi requested. Alright. However, you'll have to wait for more than a month. Lung Ruoxue replied honestly. But you guys aren't thinking of buying time, are you? Hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Wei Yi's suspicions deepened, and he looked at Lung Ruoxue and the others with a face of disbelief. Thanks, of course not. There's a time limit to the disguise pill we took, and we still need to have topping to recover our original looks. Lung Ruoxue explained. You guys? You've all changed your appearances? Wei Yi caught the sensitive words in Lung Ruoxue's words and asked. Yes, I am. Lung Ruoxue nodded. No wonder. However, don't you have an antidote for that face-changing pill? Wei Yi continued to be suspicious. There is. However, this disguise pill is a bit special. Even if you have the antidote, you can only take it after 3 months, or else the antidote won't work. Lung Ruoxue said honestly. Who knew that when she said this, the distrust on Wei Yi's face would deepen. Swear, don't talk nonsense with this old brat. Turn up the elder. Uncle Long couldn't help but interrupt. Ah. Lung Ruoxue was speechless. What did he mean by elderda? Uncle Long. First elder wasn't woof woof. However, she still obediently moved the great elder, who was refining in the bracelet, out. The Armament Guild's chief elder, who had suddenly been moved to another place, appeared with a blank expression. He held a piece of black ore in his hand and studied it. After a moment of confusion, the chief elder said dumbly, Where's my furnace? Girl, why didn't you say anything before you moved me out? I'm asking you to come out and be a witness. Lung Ruoxue wiped away the cold sweat on her forehead and hurriedly said, What kind of certificate? I'm busy. The head elder of the Armament Guild headquarters was a little displeased. Other people had a temper when they woke up, but he had a temper when refining armaments. Especially when he was interrupted while refining armaments, his temper was definitely on a nightmare level. Little Lulu? At this moment, the chief elder of the Craftsmen's Guild headquarters heard a soft call in disbelief. At the same time, Lung Ruoxue and the rest were sweating profusely because of these 3 words. Obviously, the other party was calling him the head elder of the Craftsmen's Guild because he was the only one with the surname Lu among the people present. Hearing this long-lost pet name, the great elder of the Craftsmen's Guild suddenly burst into tears. He slowly turned his head in disbelief. Then he pounced on the guard wing and hugged him as he wailed, Guild leader, I thought I would never see you again in this life. Hearing the great elder address the other party as president, Lung Ruoxue finally understood why Uncle Long had asked her to promote him as an elder. As expected, the great elder was more useful. Even without their nonsense, Wei Yi had already taken the initiative to recognize her. Now, the great elder was hugging Wei Yi and crying while Wei Yi was coaxing him with a gentle expression. This scene, no matter how Lung Ruoxue looked at it, made her feel like they were in love. After an unknown period of time, Wei Yi, who could feel the burning gazes of the few people present, coaxed the great elder until he was almost done. He then looked at Lung Ruoxue and the rest in anger and shouted, Have you seen enough? Don't worry about us, you guys continue. Lung Ruoxue put on an understanding expression. Continue Mies. Lung Ruoxue's words made Wei Yi go a little crazy. Which house did this brat come from? Why is he so annoying? Swear, stop fooling around. This is our Armament Guild's guild master. He's the first. Seeing Swear make fun of the guard division, which he regarded as his master, the great elder wiped his tears and hurriedly said, The founding president of the Craftsmen's Guild? Lung Ruoxue blinked her eyes and re-examined Wei. I really couldn't tell. The City of Desolation was actually a place with crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Chapter 2937. The twins, too. That's right. Little girl, what's your relationship with little Lulu? Wei Yi nodded and then asked. President, can you not call me that in front of this junior? Let's just call him little Lulu in private. The great elder, who was slow to react, requested. Why? Wei Yi blinked his eyes. He clearly didn't think there was anything wrong with the name Little Lulu. The head elder was very depressed. Could he say that the name Little Lulu was an insult to his dignity as the head elder of the craftsmen's headquarters? Did he dare to say it? If he said it with the president's bad taste, not only would he not change it, but he would also become worse. The great elder sighed. From a certain point of view, he had a nameless master and was the same type of person as Shui and the others. Great elder is embarrassed. Lung Ruoxue considerately answered First Elder's doubts when she saw that he was having a hard time explaining. This time, she made First Elder's face turn red. But at the same time, Lung Ruoxue had once again attracted the attention of the guard wing. Oh, Little Lulu makes me feel very close to him, and it also reminds me of Little Lulu when he was young. He was so cute when he was young, and I've known him since he was still a little boy. Wei Yi seemed to be reminiscing. As a result, the great elder wished he could find a hole to hide in. President, could she not mention his childhood? However, it was clear that the people present were all very interested in the great elder's childhood. Their eyes were fixed on Wei Yi, hoping that he would reveal more. However, Wei Yi also knew when to stop and didn't really expose the great elder as they had hoped. Then he asked again, "Little girl, you still haven't told me what your relationship with the great elder is." "The great elder is a good friend of my godfather. Shui is my sugar daddy." The two of them said in unison. The two of them gave completely different answers, which completely confused Wei Yi. Then he looked at the great elder in disappointment and said, "Little Lulu, you've fallen." The great elder was silent. Shui was indeed his financial backer now, to provide him with all sorts of ores. Lung Ruoxue took the initiative to change the topic as she glanced at the silent first elder. "Lord Wei Yi, can you tell me the whereabouts of the 3 phoenixes?" "I don't know," Wei Yi still said. Hearing this answer, Lung Ruoxue was so depressed that she wanted to scratch the wall. She had already called him an elder, but why was the other party's mouth still shut as tightly as a clamshell? "President, if you know, please tell Shui." Seeing this, the first elder said, "I don't know." Wei Yi still said the same thing. "Wei Yi, those 3 phoenixes are Shui's beastie." Dongfeng Yu said, "What evidence do you have?" Wei Yi asked indifferently, "You want evidence again?" Lung Ruoxue was going crazy. Why did this person need evidence for everything? "Your Excellency Wei Yi, I am Lung Ruoxue." Seeing that the first elder was no longer useful, Lung Ruoxue had no choice but to reveal her family name. "I've never heard of it." Wei Yi's expression was as calm as ever. Alright. She wasn't a top-grade crystal, so she couldn't let everyone know about her. Thanks. After taking a few deep breaths, Lung Ruoxue continued, "My master is Master Yu." Evidence. Guardian Wing again. Lung Ruoxue was completely driven mad. Other than asking her to produce evidence, couldn't this fellow say anything else? The great elder can prove it. After being speechless for a while, Lung Ruoxue suppressed the urge to beat him up and gritted her teeth. "Guildmaster, Shui is really Master Yes disciple." The first elder quickly said. Unfortunately, Wei Yi didn't even believe his words. He just looked at them quietly. The great elder was helpless. He knew that the president's stubbornness had come up. It didn't matter who said it. In the end, they looked at each other and Uncle Long asked helplessly, "What do we have to do for you to believe us?" "It's simple. Show me the evidence." Wei Yi said casually, "Even your own disciple can't?" Uncle Long asked, speechless. "We haven't seen each other for too long." The guard division's excitement from seeing the great elder had disappeared, and it was now abnormally rational. "Guild leader, we're not working for that wretched person. You'll know once you leave the city of forsaken desolation." The great elder, who understood the guardian wing very well, said after some thought, "I won't leave this place now." Wei Yi was a bit stubborn. "What exactly do you want?" Lung Ruoxue was infuriated and roared, "I only want evidence. The guardian wing won't turn back until it hits a wall. Girl, leave this guy to me." At this moment, Song, who had been napping in Lung Ruoxue's arms, opened his eyes and said, "It had had enough." This person was really good at that. After speaking, Azure directly swept away Guardian Wing. "Will the guild leader be all right?" After Tsang and Wei Yi disappeared, the great elder said nervously. He was afraid that Senior Tsang would hurt Wei Yi in a fit of anger. "I'll be fine." Leng Ruoxue gave the grand elder a consoling look, then asked him about the situation of the guardian wing. The great elder spilled everything that Leng Ruoxue wanted to know. He also found out from Leng Ruoxue that the guardian wing had been poisoned. In an instant, he became more and more nervous. "Shuer, you have to help the president. He's a good person, but he's a little stubborn sometimes." First elder pleaded. "Don't worry. His poison has been cured." Leng Ruoxue replied honestly. When First elder heard this, he immediately felt relieved. Then he requested Leng Ruoxue to send him back to the bracelet. After Wei Yi was grabbed by the collar by a rabbit, the only feeling he had was depression, extreme depression. Not only was this rabbit strong, but it was also very fast. In the blink of an eye, Guard Wing didn't know where he was. Feeling the strong wind whistling past his ears, Wei Yi adapted to it for a long time before he endured the pain on his face from the wind blades and asked, "Where is this place? Where are you taking me?" He had never dreamed that a rabbit would have such strength. One had to know that he was a reverent god. Although his strength was relatively weak among reverent god-level cultivators, he was still much stronger than a rabbit. However, this rabbit today had greatly stimulated him. This rabbit was really too intrepid. He had started to teleport while carrying him without even panting. How could the hierarch bear this? If Uncle Long and the others weren't here, they would have comforted him. "You'll be fine once you get used to it." However, on the way here, not to mention getting used to it, Wei Yi simply didn't dare to look directly at the intrepid rabbit that was carrying him. "Didn't you want evidence? It'll take you there." Azure coldly glanced at Wei Yi and spoke truthfully. "So, we've already left the city of abandoned ruins?" Wei Yi was shocked. How much time had passed? He left the city. Moreover, he didn't even know how to get out of the city. This didn't make sense. Chapter 2938, The Twins, 3. Correct. "I'm going to take you to the Imperial City now." Azure said indifferently. "Imperial City? I'm not going there." Hearing this, Wei immediately refused. The mist was trying to catch him. He was not willing to walk right into a trap. But since Tsangdu had said so, would it be useful to refuse? "Brat, this is not up to you," Azure said emotionlessly. "From the moment you asked Nyo for evidence, you were destined to take a trip to the Imperial City today. Although it wasn't wrong for Wei Yi to be more cautious, it was wrong that the person he was careful of was Leng Ruoxue. This had triggered Song's forbidden lamella, so Wei Yi was destined to be at Song's mercy. "Don't want to? Are you dreaming? Why, you're kidnapping me." Seeing how overbearing Azure was, Guard Wing couldn't help but shout. "You're right. I'm kidnapped. What can you do to me?" He then found a quiet place and threw the Guard Wing in his hand to the ground. Wei didn't know what was going on. He thought that the rabbit had finally put him down obediently. Who knew that the next second, a white light flashed in front of his eyes, and then he felt a sharp pain in his body. He looked down and saw that there was a claw mark on his chest. Blood was still seeping out of the 5 small grooves. He was injured. Tens of thousands of years had passed. Other than being tortured by poison, the first time he was injured was by a rabbit. This reality greatly hurt Wei Yi's self-esteem. However, before he could react, a white light flashed in front of him in a dazzling manner. A more intense pain spread from his internal organs. "Arg! It hurts. Stop scratching." Wei Yi covered his face and begged for mercy. This rabbit was really too wicked. After scratching its body, it specifically scratched its face. His face, which had been restored to its original appearance with great difficulty, was burning at this moment. It was even 100 times more painful than his body. This was the rhythm of disfigurement. Woo! Wei Yi was in tears. He was definitely going to be bullied by a rabbit today. He wanted to fight back, but this rabbit's aura was firmly suppressing him, causing him to be forced to endure it passively. "This is just to teach you a lesson for doubting my girl." Azure sneered and stopped clawing. This guy didn't make any major mistakes, so just giving him a small lesson would do. The reason why he didn't do this in front of Nyo was because he was afraid that Nyo would be put in a difficult position. Who asked this guy to have a relationship with the great elder of the Craftsmen's Guild headquarters? It had to say, nepotism. How annoying. After Blue stopped, Wei Yi saw that he was finally safe. He carefully looked at Blue's expression and then took out a healing pill. After a while, the injuries on her body finally didn't hurt as much. However, his healing pills were only ordinary, so they only relieved the pain. His face and body were still covered in wounds. When Azure saw this, he immediately took out a supreme-grade healing pill and said to Wei Yi with a look of disdain, "Look at your poor appearance. You don't even have a decent healing pill. How do you survive?" She was being despised. Woo. This rabbit was really not likable. However, with the lesson learned, Guard Wing naturally wouldn't easily provoke Song. He silently took the pill and swallowed it. The injuries on his body and face were immediately healed. Other than the claw marks on his clothes, there was no other evidence that he had suffered inhuman abuse. From the looks of it, he was indeed worse than a rabbit. What kind of world is this? Why was it that even a rabbit was richer than him? One had to know that he was a blacksmith. He was one of the most top-notch god-grade artifact masters in the divine realm, but a certain rabbit had defeated him with a single healing medicinal pill. Yu Sang looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle. Wei Yi wanted to pretend that the rabbit in front of him didn't exist, but that was obviously impossible. After taking care of Guard Wing, Azure continued to teleport with him. Thanks, in less than 2 days, they arrived at Yu City. At the entrance of the Imperial City, Wei Yi hurriedly lowered his head, afraid that he would be recognized. "Useless thing, you only have this little courage? I have a grudge against the Divine Master. It'll be finished if she finds out." Wei Yi said gloomily. "I'm here, what are you afraid of?" Song's face was filled with disapproval. He raised his head with difficulty and glanced at Song, but he was being held by Song's collar. He could only see the fluffy white fur on Song's body. No matter how strong you were still a rabbit. However, it didn't take long for this rabbit to open his eyes. Changing its color, Song swaggered to the city gate with Guard Wing. This was the first time the guards of the city had seen a human being carried by a beastie, so they laughed out loud without even asking. Their wild and unbridled laughter made Wei Yi want to find a hole to hide in. His reputation, all gone. However, he had disappeared for too long, and it seemed that these people had long forgotten who he was. Good. With this thought, Wei Yi's heart relaxed. "Are you done laughing?" Azure asked indifferently. "Ha, this is so interesting. Little rabbit, are you this person's master?" One of the guards asked. Although they were called rabbits, Totoro, and cats, it had already been marked in their city. However, the rabbit in front of them was not white but gray, so the guard did not realize that this rabbit was equally dangerous. According to their thinking, white was white and gray was gray. No one could change their colors as they wished. But Song could. It could change into whatever it wanted, which led to these people's tragic ending. However, at this moment, they did not realize it at all and even laughed even more intensely. "He's not my master, he's my captive," Azure replied calmly. Hearing this, Wei Yi successfully revived himself. It was too embarrassing. He had become a captive. He wasn't captured by the mist, but he became a rabbit. Fortunately, these people did not know him. However, it was annoying enough that they could not stop laughing. However, with that rabbit around, the Guard Wing decided to be magnanimous and not argue with those guards. Otherwise, it would be too disgraceful. Captive? Ha! How useless must this person be to be taken as a captive by a rabbit? Someone asked while laughing. "He's not trash." It was a pity that Song Dao's words were not convincing. Hearing this, the guards laughed even louder. After a long time, a guard who laughed so hard that tears came out of his eyes asked, "Little rabbit, are you guys planning to enter the city?" "Nonsense, if we don't enter the city, who would come here?" "I'm sorry," Song Wuji said calmly as he glanced at the other party like a fool. "You," the guard choked and was so angry that he almost choked. Then he shouted, You can enter after paying the entrance fee. City entrance fee? This lord never pays a fee when entering the city. Song waved his claws and said domineeringly. Of course, the main reason was that he had no money. If you don't pay the entrance fee, you're forbidden from entering. The guard roared. This is not up to you. I advise you to let me in if you know what's good for you. I won't make things difficult for you. I just want to go in and find someone, but if you insist on collecting the city fee from me, then I can only... Azure deliberately left out half of his words. Chapter 2939. The Twins. 4. The guard was fooled and asked with a glare. Can only what? You want to know? Azure smiled evilly. The guard nodded dumbly. Watch carefully, Azure warned, and then a small claw slightly raised, and a faint divine power light blade flew out, smashing on the city wall. As the light blade was too small, even thinner than a strand of hair, the city wall was still intact after it hit the wall. The guard was amused by this scene. Ha! Do you think you're that rabbit Lung Ruoxue? He wanted to smash the city wall with this little strength. You overestimate yourself, the guard scolded in disdain and ridicule, but before he could finish, he heard a crack in his ear. Gotcha! Immediately after that, the section of the city wall behind him fell straight down and crashed toward him. The guard was immediately dumbfounded. When he reacted and wanted to run, the collapsed city wall just happened to hit his thigh. At this time, Song ruthlessly kicked the other party. This time, the guard was firmly pressed by the city wall. He didn't even have the time to cry out in pain before the unlucky guard fainted. Seeing this scene, Wei Yi couldn't help but cover his face. This scene was too beautiful, and he didn't dare to look at it directly. At the same time, the city gate was in chaos. Someone suddenly shouted, "Alert! Warning! The rabbit tribe is attacking!" Just as someone shouted, the city wall that had not collapsed just now seemed to respond to his scream and collapsed like dominoes. What a good thing you've done! Seeing this, Wei did not hesitate to blame the other party. As the saying goes, those who watch the show are not afraid of things blowing up. Since he had no choice but to come here, he could only go with the flow. After seeing the rabbit's fearsome attributes, he decisively gave up and hugged Song's thigh. This rabbit was amazing. No, it's not my fault. The guard who had been wronged by the guard wing wanted to cry but had no tears. This really had nothing to do with him. This city wall was clearly collapsed by that rabbit, so how could it be counted as him? The guard felt that the sky was going to rain red. Who would help him clear his name? How is it none of your business? Before you shouted, the city wall was still fine, but after you shouted, the city wall collapsed. There's no way you can get away with it, we have so many eyes on you. Don't you guys agree? After the guard wing criticized a certain guard, they formed an alliance with the other foolish guards. Hearing guard wing's words, the guards instantly came back to their senses and looked at the unlucky guard with distrust, their faces full of doubt. If someone had to be the scapegoat for this matter, other than that rabbit, it would be this person. All the guards made the same decision and abandoned their companions. As the one who had been abandoned, the guard was so angry that he almost vomited blood. After choking on his words and emphasizing that it had nothing to do with him, the guard passed out in anger. Wei Yi took a look and was greatly surprised. He didn't expect himself to have such an ability. If he had known this would happen, he would have used this chi mist flame back then. At that moment, he regretted not realizing that he had this ability earlier. I wonder if it's too late to pick up this specialty now? He couldn't make up his mind, but Song gave him an encouraging look. Suddenly, Wei Yi was excited. Thanks as a newly developed skill besides refining, the guard division was very excited. Just as they were about to find a few people to practice with, a group of guards suddenly ran out of the city. The leader of the group had the back of a tiger and the waist of a bear. As soon as he appeared, he asked in a loud voice, "The rabbit tribe is here? Where is he? If you're talking about me, I'm here." Azure waved his meaty paws and looked at the person who spoke. "Only you. Didn't they say that the rabbit tribe was attacking?" The leader of the guards was obviously a little disappointed. He had thought that there would be a rabbit slaughtering competition, But who knew that there was only one rabbit in front of him? This rabbit was not even the size of his palm. How could they fight it? Fuck. Who said that the rabbit tribe had attacked? After asking Song, the guard leader turned to the guards guarding the city and roared. When the city guard heard this, he immediately took a large step back in tacit understanding. This way, he just happened to expose the guard who said that the rabbit tribe had attacked. Fuck? You were the one who shouted? The leader of the guards gave the other party a hard knock on the head, and then said angrily, "There's only one rabbit, and you call it an attack by the rabbit tribe? What's with your eyes? Do you have to make such a fuss?" "Boss, it collapsed the city wall," one of the guards reminded him while holding his head that was in pain. At this time, the captain of the guards who had rushed over suddenly realized that the city wall had indeed become a pile of ruins. No wonder he felt that something was missing when he came. He finally found the problem. Wei Yi deeply admired the guard leader's obvious belatedness, and cleverly pretended to be invisible. If it was a high-end dispute, it was obviously not something that a small figure like him could solve. As expected, when the guard leader heard the guard's words, he turned to glare at Song and asked, "You're the one who collapsed the city wall? What's your relationship with the other white rabbit?" "We're twins," Azure said with a smile. "Twins?" The guard leader was conflicted by this answer. He knew how strong that rabbit was, so this one was probably not something he could deal with at his level. "Go and inform the 3 Xianyi sirs. The younger twin brother of the rabbit is here." The leader of the guards made a decisive decision. Then, a guard quickly left like the wind. "Who told you I'm your little brother?" At this time, Azure looked at the guard leader with dissatisfaction. "Are you the older brother?" The guard leader was dumbfounded. He didn't know that this rabbit would care so much about seniority. "It's a must," Azure said matter-of-factly. Hearing Song's words, Guardian Wing laughed in his heart. If he didn't know that the rabbit had changed its color, he would have believed its words. But now, Jian Song had played the guard leader like a fool, and he felt very satisfied. Not long after, the extremely unwilling Xian Yi and the other 2 also slowly walked out of the city. Looking at the collapsed city wall, the 3 of them were very calm, because they were used to it. If the walls of the imperial city didn't collapse every few days, they wouldn't be able to adapt to it. However, what Xianyi didn't understand was, when did Song, that fake rabbit, have a twin brother? Why didn't he hear about it? Could it be that there were 2 guardian tower spirits? At the city gate, Xian Yi, as the representative of the 3 reverent god-level cultivators, asked first, "May I ask who you are?" "I am the heavens." Azure gave him face as he smiled. "Good day, Sirdan." The corners of Xian Yi's mouth twitched. One was Azure and the other was heaven. Wasn't it Azure heaven when they were put together? It was just that he didn't know when another Earth would appear, and they would make a pair. Chapter 2940, The Twins, 5. The Heavens and the Earth. How domineering! Pulling back his wandering thoughts, Xian Yi coughed twice and asked in all seriousness, "May I know what business you have in the Imperial City? Do you still need to ask?" "Of course, I'm here to cause trouble," Azure said calmly. All right. He had asked an idiotic question. Xian Yi was a little annoyed. He knew that without Shui, no one could make Senior Tsong speak properly. "What do we do now?" Seeing this, Xia Yi could not help but ask in a low voice. "What else can we do?" "Of course, I'll report this to the Divine Master," Xian Yi said with a smile. All right. Xia Yi sincerely prayed that when the Divine Master saw this rabbit, he would be able to remain calm and not explode with anger. Xia Yi called over a guard and gave him some instructions. The guard ran away as if he had received a special pardon. "The 3 of you are not bad." Seeing them so tactful, Song was simply too satisfied. As for Wei, he looked at the scene in front of him and felt extremely confused. What was going on? "Bastard! What are you doing here?" At this moment, an angry roar sounded in everyone's ears. When Guard Wing heard this sound, he knew that it was the mist ripple. Immediately, he lowered his head even more, afraid that he would be recognized. A gust of wind blew, and Wu Xiao, who was dressed in black, appeared. Azure looked at Wu Xiao with a smile and said, Little Lian bitch, why did you change to black? Could it be that he knew that he looked too ugly in red? You shut up. The mist was furious. Stop roaring. Please don't roar. You haven't recovered from your injuries yet. If the blood vessels burst, how much blood would we have to suck to make up for it? Cold quickly comforted. You're here again. What do you want? Hearing this, Wu Wan gritted her teeth and asked. The veins on her forehead were throbbing. She was already at the limit of her patience. However, she knew that the current her wasn't suitable to be entangled with Tsang. She just wanted to quickly get rid of this annoying fellow. I've brought a little kid here to visit and see if you're still alive. Cold Truth said. Don't worry, I'm alive and well. River Mist replied angrily. That's good, you have to take care of your body, my Nyo still has to personally deal with you. So, you can't die early, understand? Azure said with concern. However, its concern was really driving him crazy. When Wei Yi heard the conversation between the man and the beast, he was so shocked that he didn't know what to say. It was obvious that these two were very familiar, even close to the point of being familiar. However, from their words, he could hear a feeling of love and death. What kind of rhythm was this? It had been too long since Guard Wing had been in the God realm. He clearly felt that he couldn't keep up with the situation. This was really too worrying. By the way, please tell this kid that we're not on the same side. Just as Wei Yi was feeling sad, Song said and lifted Wei Yi's chin, making him face fog. Thanks. Immediately, Wei Yi burst into tears. Wu Yan's eyes flickered and she shouted, The Guardian Wing? You're finally willing to appear. You've got the wrong person, Wei Yi said in a low voice. At the same time, he couldn't help but glare at Song. Why didn't she let him continue being an ostrich? What? You're as timid as a mouse, you don't even dare to admit your identity? Ripple Mist laughed at Wei Yi's words. Wei Yi didn't say a word. Living was the most important thing. What could he do if he didn't admit his identity? It's not like he'll lose a piece of meat. Wei Yi, hand over the forging experience that you gave you. Seeing that Wei Yi didn't speak, Wu Yan said. What forging insights? I don't know. Wei Yi played dumb. So you're saying that you don't want to protect the Armament Masters Guild? Wu Chen threatened. If it wasn't for the sake of using the Craftsmen's Guild as bait, how could she possibly allow those craftsmen to show off in front of her? Now that they had met the Guardian Wing, the Craftsmen's Guild was naturally not of much use anymore. However, the threatened Guard Wing didn't say anything. In fact, he was having a strong mental struggle. To him, whether it was the Craftsmen's Guild or the smithing experience given to him by Lord Yu, they were both extremely important. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been afraid of being forced to leave the Craftsmen's Guild and hide away by Fog. Now that he had reappeared and Fog Ripple had brought up the past, these two things that the other party had threatened him with were both his weaknesses. Little guy, don't be afraid. With me around, this old woman can't threaten you. Feeling Guard Wing's struggle, Blue patted his shoulder and supported him, at the same time blocking the fog's pressure. Song, don't meddle in my business. This is a matter between me and him. This little guy is under my protection, so his matters are my matters. Azure smiled faintly, clearly wanting to meddle in this matter to the end. Hearing this, Wei Yi felt Song's kindness and naturally continued to hug his thigh. He could see that the two of them really loved each other and wanted to kill each other. As for Rhyme, she couldn't do anything to this rabbit. However, at this time, he still didn't remember Tsong's identity. Or it could be said that he didn't connect the rabbit in front of him with the spirit of the God-protecting tower at all. As for Fog, because of Tsong's words, she was furious. Tsong, it's fine that you're going against me for Lung Ruoxue, but now you're still going against me for the sake of the Guardian Wing? Yes. Going against you is my greatest hobby. Azure smiled evilly. River Ripple was so angry that she couldn't say anything for a long time. After laughing enough, Song said, Little Lian bitch. I finally know why this little fellow doesn't dare to come to U City. Isn't it because he has that idiot yes artifact refining insights in his hands? You don't even know how to refine artifacts, yet you're fighting over this with a little fellow? You're a temporary god lord appointed by the laws of the world. Can we not do such a tasteless thing? Besides, so what if you collect that idiot's things for yourself? That idiot you has already fallen, why do you have to see the object and think of him, deceiving yourself and others? That idiot you doesn't want to see you, and he doesn't want his things to be in your hands. So, I advise you to hand over the things that idiot you left behind. This way, you won't have to look at those things every day and feel sad. Hearing Song's words, Ripple Mist was so angry that she was about to explode. She was really just saying whatever she didn't want to hear, and her mouth was smelly and poisonous. What did he mean by snatching from a little fellow? Yes, tool refinement insights should have been hers, all right? What did he mean by a temporary divine master? She was definitely a true divine master. You had fallen, so the god world should be taken over by her, the person closest to her. She wasn't a person without class. He was not deceiving himself. You had pampered her when he was alive, so how could he not want to see her after he died? Fog retorted in her heart, her eyes spitting fire as she glared at Azure and Wei. In reality, she wanted to shout out these retorts, but she knew that no matter what she said, Azure, that annoying fellow, would have thousands of reasons for her. She really didn't want to waste any more time with Azure. At the same time, she also knew that if Cold One was determined to protect Guard Wing, she really couldn't snatch him from that damn cat. All she could do was ignore him. Chapter 2941. The Twins, 6. At the same time, Azure couldn't be bothered with Rime Ice. In any case, he had come here today to prove to Wei Yi that he and the others weren't in cahoots with Rime Ice. Now that his goal had been achieved, there was no reason for him to continue being entangled with Rime Ice. Little Lian bitch, I'm here today to prove one thing. What is it? As for Azure's unpredictable behavior, Fog was already too tired to complain, but she still cooperated and asked. Otherwise, this damn cat might come up with some evil tricks again. We're not on the same side. Didn't I just say it? Azure smiled smugly, then turned to ask Guardian Wing, Little guy, do you believe me now? I believe you. Wei Yi was speechless. How could he not believe it? How angry was Wu Jing? However, he could only secretly stomp his feet, but there was nothing he could do about this rabbit that could change its color. In front of these two, he considered himself a disadvantageous group, and it was enough for him to be remembered by Fog alone, so he did not want to be remembered by this rabbit no matter what. That would definitely be a nightmare. It's good that you believe me. Little Lian slut, today's matter is over, we will take our leave. After saying that, Azure waved goodbye to Ripple Mist and disappeared with the Guard Wing, causing Ripple Mist's face to darken. Was she being treated like a hot pot? Wu Xiao was really angry that Song came here just to torment her, but she knew Song too well and knew that it was absolutely not worth getting angry with him, but she was still angry. The furious Wu Yen glared at the guards who were already trembling like willows in the wind with a dark face before disappointedly disappearing. After Wu Yen had left for a long time, the leader of the guards asked in a daze, Your Excellency Xian Yi, isn't that rabbit called Tian? Why does the Divine Master call it Song? Hearing this, Xian Yi only looked deeply at the head guard and felt an inexplicable worry in his heart. He was quite anxious about the intelligence of the guard leader. Then, without even answering the guard leader's question, Xian Yi also disappeared in a flash. When Xia Yi and the other man saw this, they shook their heads helplessly and left. The guard leader was still confused as he watched the important figures leave one by one. Unfortunately, even the ordinary guards were unwilling to pay attention to him. It was better not to talk about such a sensitive topic. After Tsong left the city with Guardian Wing, he saw Guardian Wing looking at him hesitantly. He immediately shouted, If you have something to say, then say it. Senior, can we not be so rough? Wei Yi secretly sighed, then made up his mind and said, Senior, I want to go back to the Armament Guild headquarters to take a look. Why are we going there? Song raised his eyebrows and asked. Ask them to move as soon as possible. I'm afraid that Wu Xian will find trouble with them. Wei Yi said honestly. If that old woman really wants to find trouble with the Armament Guild headquarters, with your strength, What's the use of going back? I won't stop you if you want to die, but you have to hand over the 3 phoenixes first. Azure reminded. Wei Yimo, Sr., you're too unsympathetic. Seeing through Wei Yi's thoughts, Azure said with a disapproving expression, sympathy is not worth much. Bad guy. Peeking at his thoughts. Thanks, do you really need me to peek at your thoughts? I really don't know how you've been hiding for so many years. That little bitch, Rhyme, has never found you. You're really too stupid. Azure continued. This time, Wei didn't dare to let his thoughts run wild. If he knew what he was thinking, how could he live? Senior, give me some face and don't strike me down. Taking a deep breath, the depressed Wei Yi begged. All right, I won't agitate you since you look so pitiful. However, it's really useless for you to go to the Armament Guild headquarters at this time. If that old woman, Wu Yen, wants to destroy the Armament Guild headquarters, you'll just be a meat bun hitting a dog even if you go. Or is it that you've been hiding from that bitch for so many years just to be a meat bun in the end? Azure blinked his black diamond eyes and asked with a smirk. Could she not call him a meat bun? He was a reverent god after all. Please respect the strong. Hearing Azure say this about him, Wei Yi couldn't help but feel angry again. However, just as he thought this, he immediately put away all his thoughts and didn't dare to let his imagination run wild, otherwise. That old hag welcomes god-tier meat buns the most. Your blood will definitely be her best food. As expected, Azure continued to attack. Senior, can you help me? Wei Yi, who wanted to cry but had no tears, knew that the strength of the rabbit in front of him was unfathomable, so he asked for help. How do you want me to help you? Little meat bun? Azure blinked innocently. He was not called Bun Hit Dog. Wei Yi silently cried, but still said, I know that Senior's strength is powerful and you're not afraid of the miasma, so I would like to ask Senior to protect the Armament Guild headquarters. You want to hug my thigh? Azure asked. Yes, yes. Wei Yi hurriedly nodded. He knew that Song was strong, so if he didn't hug him now, when would he? Not everyone can hug my thigh. Seeing this, Azure said proudly, Senior, let the Craftsman's Guild hold onto your thigh. In the future, if you want to refine a divine artifact, you can do it. You don't need to spend any money, and all the craftsmen are at your command. How cost-effective is this? Don't you agree? Wei Yi hurriedly spoke of the benefits, but Song frowned as he listened. Your sister. It was an artifact spirit, and the god-protecting pagoda was an innate chaotic-level divine artifact. Did it need other divine artifacts? So in its eyes, the Craftsman's Guild was really of little value, but a certain person was not aware of it and thought that the Craftsman's Guild was so high and mighty. I don't need to forge. Azure said in disdain. It was a tool. A top-grade divine artifact. Senior, although you're a beast with a weapon, you won't have to use your claws to scratch people. It's easier this way. Wei Yi spared no effort to continue to tempt him, and at the same time he became stubborn, making Azure agree no matter what. I'm not afraid of wasting my claws. Azure felt that he had suffered a loss. Senior, Jian Song's words didn't work. Wei Yi could only put down his pride and drag out his voice to beg. Sure enough, Azure was frightened by Wei Yi's voice. He uncomfortably shook his fur, then slapped Wei Yi's head with his paw and roared, Speak properly, or I'll hand you over to the mist bitch. Wei Yi, who had been beaten until his eyes were filled with stars, looked pitifully at Song, feeling extremely wronged. At this moment, he no longer had the wild and cool demeanor he had when he met Leng Ruoxue and the others. He only wanted to hug their thighs and seek protection. Seeing him like this, Song almost went crazy and wanted to melt it down to make more. However, after thinking about it, it was not bad to get Nyo a Weapon Master Guild to play with. It was better than letting it fall into the hands of the rippling fog bitch, so in the next second, it agreed. Seeing that Azure had finally agreed, Wei Yi was moved to tears. Woo! It really wasn't easy. He had wasted his time acting coquettishly and acting cute. Hard work paid off. Senior, thank you. Wei Yi said excitedly. Chapter 2942, The Twins, 7. Don't thank me too early. I'm telling you, what's mine is Nyo's. So, even though I'm protecting your Armament Guild headquarters, it still belongs to Nyo. In the future, all of you have to listen to her. Azure warned. Understood. Wei Yi nodded. Suddenly, he felt envious, jealous, and hateful towards Lung Ruoxue. How blissful would it be to have such a big thigh to hug? That's right, that little girl said that she was Master Yes disciple. Could it be true? Filled with doubt, Guard Wing looked at Azure, his face filled with questions. Nyo is indeed the disciple of Dummy Yu. Seeing the situation, Song said truthfully, "It seems like I'm the one with the heart of a vile person." Wei Yi said, somewhat embarrassed, "It's good that you know. However, we're all magnanimous and won't hold it against you." Azure said magnanimously. As he spoke, he teleported with the Guardian Wing. It only put down Guardian Wing when it arrived at the Blacksmith Guild headquarters. This also made Wei Yi let out a long sigh of relief. Otherwise, if the weapon craftsman saw him being carried like this, it would damage his image. After entering the Craftsman's Guild headquarters, the first thing Wei Yi did was to look for the guild master. However, he was informed by the waiter that the guild master was in seclusion. "Tell your guild leader to come out quickly, or I'll smash the Armament Guild headquarters." Hearing this, Azure immediately roared, "Senior, calm down. You can't smash this place." Hearing Tsong's words, Wei Yi was afraid. Was this person addicted to smashing other people's houses? Why do you always like to cause trouble? Aren't you in closed-door cultivation? I just want to get that president out. Azure said innocently, "I have an idea, there's no need to trouble Senior," said Wei Yi, trying to please him. "Then you do it, this lord's patience is limited." Song waved his little paw and found a place to sit down. Wei Yi wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and showed a token to the servant. Unfortunately, the servant did not recognize the token. In the Guardian Wing, he could only say helplessly, "What's wrong with the Guardian Wing?" The waiter asked in confusion, "Don't you know that the first guild master of the Craftsman Guild was called Guardian Wing?" Wei Yi asked, almost making the waiter go crazy. "So what? Does it have anything to do with you? Don't think that just because you have the same name as our founding president, you have special privileges in the Armament Guild headquarters. Remember, this is the Armament Guild headquarters." The waiter said proudly. Wei Yi was dumbfounded. Azure couldn't help but cover his mouth with his little paws and laugh. Glancing at Song's reserved smile, Wei Yi was depressed. "Senior, if you want to laugh, laugh. There's no need to be embarrassed." Wei Yi sighed. Didn't I tell you to smash it?" Azure laughed evilly, clearly rejoicing in his misfortune. "Daring to smash the Armament Guild headquarters? You're quite bold." Seeing this man and beast acting as if he didn't exist, the waiter's anger surged to his head. "I've even smashed the Divine Lord's estate. What's the Armament Guild?" Azure said disapprovingly. "What big words." At this moment, an angry voice interrupted. "Thanks, and who are you?" "I'm an honorary elder of the Armament Guild headquarters. You can call me Eldering." The one who spoke was a middle-aged man who was currently walking down the stairs. He was not very strong, only a god king. However, to be able to become an honorary elder of the Craftsman's Guild, Wei Yi was clear that this person definitely had talent in forging. Afraid that Song Zhen would smash the Blacksmith Guild headquarters in a fit of anger, Wei Yi went up and grabbed his collar, ordering, "Tell the Armament Guild headquarters manager to come out. I have important matters to attend to." "You're ordering me?" Elder Ing blinked her eyes and asked in disbelief. "Hurry up, or you'll have to bear the consequences." Wei Yi threatened, and released a trace of pressure. Instantly, Elder Ying's little face turned pale and she scrambled up the stairs. The waiter was also so scared that his little body kept trembling. In fact, he also wanted to run, but his legs were weak. Who dares to come to the Craftsman's Guild headquarters and cause trouble? Not long after, a group of weapon craftsmen ran down from upstairs with all kinds of weapons in their hands. "I want to see the president." Seeing this, Guard Wing repeated, "The president is in seclusion. May I know who you are?" When the leader saw Guardian Wing in person, he immediately changed his attitude. This person gave him the feeling that he was very strong. As a non-combat guild, he really didn't want to make an enemy out of a stranger. What about the vice president? Wei Yi asked again. Little guy, the two vice presidents here are with my girl. Song laughed before the other party could reply. Wei, so he had come here for nothing? Who's your girl? Our vice leader is in Demon City? The leader of the group asked in surprise. Could it be that something had happened to the two vice presidents? But why didn't they receive any news at all? My girl is Lung Ruoxue, Azure said arrogantly with a proud face. Arg. So it was Miss Lung's beastie. It was a misunderstanding. We didn't know your identity, please don't take it to heart. Seeing Tsang mention Lung Ruoxue's name, the leader's attitude immediately took a 180-degree turn. He treated Tsang even better than before. Seeing this, Green proudly gave Wei Yi a provocative look, his black eyes red as he wrote, Look, my girl's name is better than yours, right? Facing Tsang's smugness, Wei Yi could only feel depressed, because he couldn't deny that the girl's name was better than his. Because even if he said the two words, Wei Yi, people would think that they had the same name. I don't blame you. Who's the one in charge of the Armament Guild headquarters now? Azure asked, showing his magnanimity. That's me. In the fifth elder of the Armament Guild headquarters. That person took the initiative to say, Don't you know him? Pointing at Wei Yi, Azure asked with a smirk. Hearing this, the fifth elder carefully sized up the guard division, but in the end he still shook his head. He looks familiar, but I can't remember where I've seen him before. He's the Guardian Wing, the first president of the Craftsmen's Guild. Song solved the mystery. What? Hearing this, the fifth elder's face paled. He continued to stare at the Guardian Wing in disbelief. To be honest, he had only heard of the name of the Guardian Wing and had never seen it in person. However, he had seen the image of the founding president once, and the man in front of him gave him a sense of déjà vu. But he couldn't just randomly call himself the president. Even though he believed that Lung Ruoxue's beastie would not lie to them, he still had to verify it. May I ask if your excellency has any proof? The fifth elder asked after he had examined her. Hearing this, Azure couldn't help but laugh madly. He pointed at Wei Yi and said, Little guy, they want evidence just like you. Really, if you're not family, you'll join the same family. Wei Yi's face darkened, but he still took out the token from before and showed it to the fifth elder. Seeing the token, the fifth elder was instantly excited. This was the personal token of the first president. Chapter 2943, The Twins, 8. President. After confirming, the fifth elder's eyes were filled with tears as he choked. You admit it just like that? Aren't you going to confirm it? Song reminded. Senior, what do you mean? Was he afraid that the world would not be in chaos? Wei Yi looked at Song with a face full of hidden bitterness. There's no need to confirm. He's definitely our guild leader. The fifth elder said with certainty. He believed that Lung Ruoxue's beastie would not lie to him. After all, his relationship with the Armament Guild headquarters was not ordinary. Fifth elder, I have an important matter to discuss with your current president. Please ask him to come out of seclusion. Guard Wing, whose identity had finally been confirmed, said cautiously. All right, President, please wait a moment. The fifth elder said respectfully. Finished speaking, the fifth elder personally went to handle this matter, while Wei Yi and Azure were also invited into the VIP room. Sitting on the chair in the VIP room, Wei Yi looked at Song with a puzzled expression. What's wrong? Cold asked as he felt Guard Wing's gaze. Why didn't they suspect anything when you said you were Lung Ruoxue's beastie? Regarding this question, Wei Yi had been thinking for a while, but he couldn't figure it out. Character. Do you understand? Azure said smugly, then sprawled on the table. These words caused Wei Yi to feel a sense of melancholy. President. Suddenly, a whirlwind rushed in from the outside and headed straight for the Guardian Wing. Guard Wing, who wasn't prepared at all, was thrown to the ground. Damn it, get up. Wei Yi's face darkened as he angrily glared at the person on top of him. Guild leader, I'm so excited. a certain man said with an embarrassed expression. He was the Armament Guild's current president, Xueqi. I have something important to discuss with you. Wei Yi nodded his head in understanding and said straightforwardly. Please speak, President. Xueqi said, a little like a lackey. Although it was not the time to reminisce, Wei Yi still explained the cause and effect of his disappearance to Xueqi and several elders who had followed him. He also emphasized that Wu Ice might attack the Craftsmen's Guild. When Xueqi and the other elders heard this, they were at a loss. Without Wei even mentioning Tsang, Xueqi and the other elders all turned their eyes to Tsang. In the entire god world, Leng Ruoxue was the only one who dared to go against Wu Cheng. In the future, the Craftsmen's Guild will be under my protection. Seeing this, Cold waved his claws and said very arrogantly, Thank you, this beast race senior. Thank you, Miss Leng. Xueqi and the others quickly expressed their thanks. Wei Yi was depressed that they were acting like lackeys. From the looks of it, other than him who did not know Leng Ruoxue, everyone else knew her. More importantly, that little girl's position in the divine realms seemed to be quite high. Thanks originally, he had thought that he would have to spend a lot of effort to convince the always proud Armament Guild headquarters to be willing to rely on the protection of others. Unexpectedly, it was completely different from what he had imagined in advance. Without even letting him speak any nonsense, this group of people from the Armament Guild headquarters had spontaneously found a thigh to hug. Such a fact made him, the founding president of the Armament Guild headquarters, feel no sense of accomplishment. But now that things had come to this, everyone was happy. He could finally be at ease. Unfortunately, he didn't feel at ease for long. In order to show his protection, Tsang directly injected his divine power into his voice and shouted at the top of his voice, Ripple Mist Bitch, the Armament Guild headquarters is mine now. I dare you to touch it. These powerful words instantly spread throughout the entire divine realm. Immediately, cold sweat appeared on the foreheads of Wei Yi and the others. Was this a provocation? However, in a short period of time, they probably wouldn't know whether this was a provocation or not. After hearing Tsang's words, Fog Ice chose to ignore it. Right now, healing was the most important thing. She didn't have time for the weaponsmith's quarter. In her eyes, the Wei Yi would be in her pocket sooner or later, so she wasn't in a hurry. After Azure had taken Guardian Wing to settle the issue of ownership of the Weapon Masters Guild, he had brought Guardian Wing around the Divine Realm before returning to the abandoned land. Although Guard Wing had protested countless times that Azure shouldn't take him away, it was a pity that he was completely ignored. Seeing Wei Yi return home, Leng Ruoxue and the others quickly looked him up and down. When they saw that he was completely unharmed, they instantly felt relieved. After all, he was the Great Elder's master in name, and the Great Elder would feel heartache if he was hurt. This time, there was no need for Leng Ruoxue and the others to waste their breath. Wei Yi directly said, I've hidden the 3 phoenixes. You? Leng Ruoxue didn't know what Azure had done to change Wei Yi's attitude, but the difference was too great. She couldn't believe it. Senior Tsang is my thigh now. Wei Yi saw Leng Ruoxue's face full of question marks and took the initiative to explain to her. Leng Ruoxue and the others were silent. Did this mean that Wei Yi was clinging onto Shang Tsang's thigh? No wonder he was so obedient. Girl, don't be too touched. Hearing this, Tsang's face was begging for a caress. Leng Ruoxue did as it wished and touched Tsang's fur. Tsang closed its eyes in happiness and lay in Leng Ruoxue's arms. Seeing this rabbit acting so coquettishly, Wei Yi couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. This was the rabbit that had kidnapped him? Why was he so gentle towards Leng Ruoxue, but so simple and rough towards her? In fact, Wei Yi was too embarrassed to tell everyone that after Tsang took him away, he beat him up before taking him to the immortal realm. Of course, they also went to the Imperial City. When they arrived, a certain rabbit showed his divine might and directly collapsed the walls of the Imperial City. As expected, they also saw Fog Ice in the Imperial City. He had personally witnessed the scolding battle between Leng Ruoxue's rabbit and Fog Phoenix. He had also witnessed how Fog Phoenix was so infuriated by a certain rabbit that her blood vessels almost burst. In the rabbit's words, didn't you want evidence? It'll bring you directly to the ripple mist. After finding trouble with rhyme ice, it'll let you see my girl's reputation in the divine realm. As expected, Wei Yi's vision started to change and he gave in. This rabbit was too terrifying. He couldn't afford to offend it. More importantly, the Armament Guild headquarters still needed their protection. So, thinking about what had happened these past few days, those were all tears. Now, are you willing to tell me where the 3 phoenixes are? Lung Ruoxue could feel that Wei Yi had been through a lot these past few days, so she couldn't help but ask in a gentle voice. Wei Yi nodded his head vigorously. Could he not tell? He had already seen the evidence, and he had also hugged a certain rabbit's thigh. If he didn't say anything, that rabbit would probably go crazy. At that time, wouldn't he be the unlucky one? After that, Wei Yi brought Lung Ruoxue and the others to the backyard and opened one of the doors. He then said, "Come in with me." Upon entering the room, Lung Ruoxue and the rest realized that it was an extremely ordinary room. Other than an old bed, there was no other furniture in the room. Naturally, there were no signs of the 3 phoenixes. However, Lung Ruoxue and the rest did not say much. They only followed Wei Yi with calm expressions. Seeing this, the Moor Guard Wing felt that his previous suspicion had been unnecessary. Chapter 2944. The Twins, 9. In reality, he didn't want that to happen either. However, it had been too long since he had moved around the divine world, and Fog Ice had been searching for his whereabouts all this time. Thus, he had to be on guard. After opening a wall and revealing a secret passage, he brought Lung Ruoxue and the rest in. After walking for an unknown amount of time, Lung Ruoxue and the rest finally saw a ray of light. They then realized that this secret tunnel led to a mountain because they were already in an unknown mountain. In the next second, they were surrounded by hundreds of armed men in gray. Our own people. Wei Yi took out a token and showed it to the other. Seeing this, the other party immediately put away his weapon and looked at Guard Wing with a respectful expression. He hesitated and said, "You're the boss? What, you don't even recognize me?" Wei Yi sighed helplessly. "And no, it's not that. It's just that your face is different." A gray-robed man said carefully. "I've been detoxified," Wei Yi explained. When the gray-clothed people heard this, they immediately cheered and crowded around the guard division as they walked to the front. Lung Ruoxue and the rest pretended to be invisible and followed behind them silently. Knowing that they had been brought here by the Guardian Wing, the gray-clothed men were very polite to them after confirming their identities. The mountain path was rather rugged. Lung Ruoxue and the rest followed behind Wei Yi and the rest for a long time before they reached the peak. At the top of the mountain, there was a spacious 3-story building built against the mountain. Lung Ruoxue could tell with a single glance that it was also a house. "Little girl, this is my base camp. I've placed the 3 phoenixes here." After entering the courtyard, Wei Yi turned around and said to Lung Ruoxue, "Master, you're back." At the same time, a young man quickly came to Wei Yi's side and shouted with excitement. "This is my disciple, Meng Xiao." Wei Yi introduced. "The previous president of the Craftsmen's Guild?" Lung Ruoxue said. "You recognize me?" Meng Xiao asked in surprise. "I don't recognize you." Lung Ruoxue replied honestly. Meng Xiao was depressed. She couldn't recognize him, but she could still tell his identity. "I recognize the first elder and the 2 vice presidents of the Craftsmen's Guild." Lung Ruoxue smiled. "I see." Meng Xiao understood. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue moved the head elder of the Craftsmen's Guild out. Lu Yu and Mo Yen were with him. As soon as Mo Yen came out, he was also not used to it. All these years, he had been staying in Shui Er's space with his disciple, almost never leaving the house, so he had no idea how he had been moved out. However, before he could ask the question in his heart, he saw Wei Yi and Meng Xiao standing not far away from the corner of his eye. He immediately became excited. "President!" Mo Yen shouted, and then excitedly pounced on the 2. He was more familiar with Meng Xiao, but he was not as unfamiliar with Wei Yi as the others in the Craftsmen's Guild. After all, Wei Yi was a godlike figure in the hearts of the craftsmen of this generation. Mo Yen excitedly threw himself in front of Meng Xiao and Wei Yi, choking with sobs. At this moment, Lu Yu and the great elder also walked over, and the few of them hugged each other and cried. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue and the others automatically made way for them while they hid in another corner of the courtyard. Little girl, do you still remember me? Suddenly, a slightly flirtatious voice rang in Leng Ruoxue's ears. Thanks. Leng Ruoxue turned around and saw that the person who spoke was a young man. The man's clothes were unusually bright, like a peacock fighting for beauty. Upon seeing this person, Leng Ruoxue frowned before looking at the demon. You are Xiao Fan from Black Fog Cliff? The demon revealed the man's identity. Xiao Fan was excited when he saw that he had been recognized. He immediately ran to the demon and said, Not bad, you still remember me. You're not like a certain heartless person who had long forgotten about me. Hearing this, Leng Ruoxue and the rest had goosebumps all over their bodies. However, his words had successfully attracted the attention of Uncle Long and the rest towards Leng Ruoxue. Needless to say, the heartless person this person was referring to was definitely Xue. As for Leng Ruoxue, after the cold chill, she acted as if she had not heard Xiao Fan's words and said calmly, Your boss can't leave now. Take us to see the 3 phoenixes. Little girl, it's fine if you pretend not to know me, but you still want me to run errands for you? Xiao Fan pointed at Leng Ruoxue and said, Do you want me to find it myself? If I were to look for it myself, I can't guarantee what this place would look like. Leng Ruoxue threatened. I'm scared of you, okay? I'll take you there. Sign, Xiao Fan said in a sullen tone. Then stop talking nonsense. Leng Ruoxue urged, forcing Xiao Fan to swallow back his unspoken complaints. Xiao Fan, who had resigned himself to his fate, led the way in front, but his heart was beating fast. This little girl's aura was much stronger than when they met her in the Haotian continent. At that time, Leng Ruoxue was just a little kid in their eyes, but now, he was full of tears. After leading Leng Ruoxue and the others to the backyard, Xiao Fan pointed to a courtyard and said, It's there, you guys go. Leng Ruoxue nodded and brought the demon and the rest to the courtyard. There were only 2 rooms in the small courtyard. Leng Ruoxue pushed open one of the rooms, and it just so happened that her 2 old phoenixes were living inside. At this moment, the 2 old phoenixes were lying side by side on the bed, unconscious. Leng Ruoxue examined their injuries and discovered that they were only in a deep sleep due to their injuries. Their lives were not in danger, so she was relieved. Not long after he took out 2 supreme-grade healing pills and fed them to the 2 old phoenixes, the 2 old phoenixes slowly woke up. As soon as they woke up, Feng Hua and Feng Miao were both a little confused. After being stunned for a while, the 2 of them touched each other and said in unison, Have we recovered from our injuries? The moment the 2 of them woke up, their consciousness was still at the moment when they were injured. Now that they saw that the 2 of them had no injuries at all, they were quite surprised. Who had saved them? The 2 of them looked at each other, their eyes still filled with confusion. They were obviously slow to react, so they did not realize that they were being watched. What a good gay friend. Uncle Long's sigh woke up the 2 of them from their daze. Arg. Who are you? Feng Hua and Feng Miao raised their heads and saw that there were a few more people in the room, and they were immediately shocked. You don't even recognize your master? Uncle Long pointed at Leng Ruoxue and asked. Master? Feng Hua asked carefully. He could sense that his master was very close to him, but was this ugly woman in front of him really his master? The Phoenix Fire didn't dare to recognize it. It would be so embarrassing if he recognized the wrong master. Old Fire. Sighing softly, Leng Ruoxue looked at Old Fire's silly expression and could only speak on her own. Chapter 2945. The Twins, 10. Hearing that the voice belonged to the owner, Old Fire became excited. Master! Old Fire thought that he would never see you again. But why did you change again? Is he disfigured? Feng Hua couldn't help but guess. I've changed my appearance. Leng Ruoxue gritted her teeth. Could this old phoenix not be so out of line? When they first met, he was still normal. "Oh, Master, why do you change your appearance every time?" Feng Hua asked with great curiosity. Was this important? Leng Ruoxue couldn't understand why Old Fire would be so concerned about this. Ice Spirit's reaction was more direct. He had already slapped Old Fire's head, causing Old Fire to grimace in pain. "Who are you? What right do you have to hit me?" The Phoenix Flame was furious. "I'm Ice Spirit. I'm beating you up on behalf of Feng Wu." Ice Spirit roared. "Ice Spirit? Which Ice Spirit?" Feng Hu couldn't help but ask. He only knew of one Ice Spirit, and that was the Qilin clan leader. This person couldn't be him, right? Qilin clan's Ice Soul. Ice Spirit said honestly. When Feng Hua and Feng Miao heard this, they were instantly dumbfounded. The Ice Soul of the Qilin clan? Wasn't that the Qilin clan's patriarch? Master, he really is? The Phoenix Flame couldn't believe it and turned to ask its master. He believed his master more. Leng Ruoxue nodded. The Phoenix Fire was at a loss. Senior Ice Soul. Feng Hua said in a low voice. He was so scared that he didn't dare to raise his head. "Okay, don't be so out of line." Ice Spirit reminded. "I know." "Yes," Feng Hua replied, then looked at Leng Ruoxue with a wronged expression. "Master, how did you manage to bring this dangerous item? With him around, how are we beasties supposed to live?" The Ice Spirit was undoubtedly giving Feng Hua and Feng Miao a lot of pressure. After all, the Ice Spirit was not only powerful, but also had a high status in the Beast Clan. In front of the Ice Spirit, who was the most senior beast in the Beast Clan, the two of them were like children. They were at a loss when facing the Ice Spirit. Besides, they didn't know why the Ice Spirit was with its master. Most of the rumors in the divinity said that Senior Ice Soul was in closed-door cultivation, and some said that he was injured and unconscious. But now it seemed that Senior Ice Soul was in good condition. At least, he was much stronger than the king of their Phoenix clan. "Isn't there another Phoenix?" Ice Spirit reminded. "Arg, Little Six." With Ice Spirit's reminder, the two of them suddenly realized that they had forgotten about the sixth elder. They quickly stood up and ran outside. Leng Ruoxue and the rest sat calmly. Very quickly, Feng Hua and Feng Miao turned back. Feng Hua even said with tears in his eyes, "Master, where is Little Six?" "Woo-woo, idiot." Ice Spirit cursed, then stood up and walked out. Leng Ruoxue shook her head in disappointment and walked out. The demon and the rest followed him one by one. Seeing this, Feng Hua and Feng Miao were even more confused. However, they still followed Leng Ruoxue and the rest with determination. Following him to the next room, the two of them saw the unconscious sixth elder lying on the bed. With a swoosh, they rushed to the bed and wailed, "Little Six, you died a terrible death." Thanks, black lines slid down the foreheads of Leng Ruoxue and the others. It seemed that going offline was also contagious. Seeing Feng Hua and Feng Miao lying on the bed of the sixth elder of the Feng clan, crying their hearts out, Leng Ruoxue was a little flustered. In the end, she could no longer bear it and shouted, "Why are you crying? Who said she's dead?" He didn't die? Then why is there no aura at all?" Feng Hua asked in a daze. "Her injuries are more serious than yours, and she's in a deep sleep. However, if you continue to cry, she might really lose her life." Leng Ruoxue gritted her teeth. "Master, please save her." When Feng Miao heard this, she immediately pleaded nervously. "Get out of my way." Leng Ruoxue was going crazy. "Yes." The two of them moved in an orderly manner and immediately made room for the bed. Leng Ruoxue also took out a pill and fed it to sixth elder. However, the sixth elder's injuries were more severe than Feng Hua and Feng Miao's, so he didn't wake up as quickly as they did. Feng Hua and Feng Wan watched the sixth elder eat the pill without blinking. After a while, the sixth elder finally opened his eyes, and the two of them let out a long sigh of relief. Little Six were safe. After the sixth elder woke up, Feng Hua and Feng Miao said in unison, afraid that she would be worried. Did Qing manage to escape? The sixth elder, whose body was still very weak, asked. This question obviously stunned Feng Hua and Feng Miao. They didn't know. Qing is already in Demon City, Leng Ruoxue replied for the two of them. Little Six, you can rest assured. Qing is in Demon City. Hearing their master's words, Feng Hua and Feng Miao finally relaxed. Although they also loved Qing, they couldn't compare to the sixth elder. Therefore, they really didn't dare to imagine how sad Little Six would be if something happened to Qing. But now, everyone was fine. Old Fire, who are they? The sixth elder couldn't help but ask when he saw the stranger in front of him. She's my master, Phoenix Flame said excitedly. Leng Ruoxue? The sixth elder said hesitantly. It's me. Leng Ruoxue nodded. Miss Leng, thank you for saving us. The sixth elder said gratefully. I just found you. I wasn't the one who helped you before. Leng Ruoxue replied honestly. The three old phoenixes looked at each other when they heard this. The one who saved you was the previous president of the Armament Guild. However, you should rest first. Even if I want to thank them, there's no rush. Leng Ruoxue smiled as she saw through their thoughts. The three of them felt much more at ease after hearing this. After resting for 2 days, the three of them personally expressed their gratitude to the Guardian Wing. At this time, Wei Yi and the others had finished reminiscing, and everyone was somewhat excited. After Xiao Fan found out about Leng Ruoxue's past, he would appear in front of her from time to time in order to get to know her. It was a pity that Leng Ruoxue continued to ignore him. Xiao Fan, who refused to give up, was stopped by the demon when he went to look for Leng Ruoxue again. What do you want? The demon dragged Xiao Fan to a corner and questioned him. Old friends were catching up. Don't be so unfriendly. Xiao Fan saw the demon's unfriendly expression and quickly lowered his head. Who's your old friend? The demon raised his eyebrows and said in disdain. He had not forgotten that when he had first thought of Black Fog Cliff, this group of people had given him and the others a difficult problem. Although it was a mission, if it was not for Xue Er's ability in alchemy and the fact that she had managed to refine a high-grade divine antidote, they would have probably been handed over there. Don't be like this. Xiao Fan was helpless. Why was it so difficult for him to cozy up to someone? To be honest, he never thought that Leng Ruoxue would be able to grow to such an extent in less than 100 years. After hearing about Leng Ruoxue from the first elder and the rest, his respect for her was like a torrential river that flowed endlessly. He did not hesitate to hug her thigh. Unfortunately, she would not let him hug her thigh. Chapter 2946, The Twins, 11. This won't do. Xiao Fan's will was firm, and he would not admit defeat easily. Then what do you want? The demon laughed evilly. I want to hug your thigh. Xiao Fan said directly. Aren't you two already hugging? The demon reminded him. Oh right, he seemed to be hugging that damn cat. That was carried by the city lord, I want to carry him alone. Xiao Fan laughed. So you want to replace Wei Yi? The demon purposely explained to Xiao Fan. Don't wrong me. I just feel that we're old friends, and we should take care of each other. Xiao Fan looked at the demon and said, That sounds reasonable. The demon nodded. That makes sense, right? Xiao Fan was pleased. Yes, but so what? You'd better stay away from Xue. If you continue to pester her, don't blame me for being impolite. The demon threatened. After saying this, he turned around and left, leaving the dumbfounded Xiao Fan standing there. Xiao Fan never dreamed that this guy would suddenly turn hostile. You were threatened, right? You deserve it. At this time, a woman walked to Xiao Fan's side and gloated. What do you know? I'm definitely going to cling onto Leng Ruoxue's thigh. Xiao Fan said, not willing to admit defeat. Yes, I support you. I didn't expect her to grow so fast in just a few years. The woman looked at Xiao Fan and couldn't hide her surprise. The woman was Bai Shi. Back in the Haotian continent, they had been ordered to find all kinds of herbs to refine antidotes. At that time, Leng Ruoxue was just a little fellow with a good cultivation base, and she had even refined high-level antidotes for them. But now, Leng Ruoxue had become an existence that they looked up to. She could no longer look at Leng Ruoxue the way she used to, nor was she as heartless as Xiao Fan, who wanted to get close to her. It was infuriating to compare people. Their improvement was limited, but Leng Ruoxue had long surpassed them by several streets. Sighing, she looked at Xiao Fan, who was still trying to cling onto Leng Ruoxue, and then she left. At the same time, Wei Yi, who was in the living room, was also talking to Leng Ruoxue about what had happened back then. Wei Yi sighed. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that he and Leng Ruoxue would have such a connection. The antidote pill that year was refined for him. However, the antidote pill was not of much help to him. Even so, he still had to thank Leng Ruoxue. When Leng Ruoxue heard this, she also felt that they were too full of themselves. By the way, what's the use of the token they gave me? Leng Ruoxue suddenly remembered that she still had an unused token in her bracelet storage. She could not help but ask curiously, take that token. If we are fated to meet again, I can make you a supreme-grade divine weapon for free. Wei Yi explained, a little embarrassed. You mean I have to come to the city of abandoned ruins or find you for the token to work? Leng Ruoxue blinked her eyes and asked. Yes, I am. Wei Yi said, somewhat embarrassed. Thanks. Hearing the other party's affirmative answer, Leng Ruoxue gave Wei Yi a disdainful look. This guy, what he gave was simply an empty check. Who would come to the city of abandoned ruins? It was even more difficult to find where they lived than to go to the city of abandoned ruins. Fortunately, she had long forgotten about the token she had accidentally obtained that year, otherwise she would have been depressed to death. But if there's a chance to see it, it's worth it. Wei Yi, who was despised by Leng Ruoxue to the point of being unable to show his face, argued in a low voice. All right then. Leng Ruoxue nodded. She didn't want to be caught up in this matter and took the initiative to change the topic. What's your next plan? Do you want to leave this place? No, don't you own this place now? Well, be safer here. Wei Yi shook his head. He was already used to living here and didn't want to easily change places. Even though this place belongs to me now, it may not be safe. After all, this is Wu Yan's territory. If she finds out that this place has changed owners, I'm afraid there will be trouble. So, are you really not considering leaving here? Leng Ruoxue tried to entice him. Don't scare me. I've been living in seclusion here for many years to avoid her. I'm already used to life here. Wei Yi still gave the same reason. Could it be that you feel that the more dangerous the place, the safer it is? Leng Ruoxue. How did you know? Wei Yi was surprised that Leng Ruoxue had guessed correctly. Isn't it obvious? By the way, I'm planning to craft an acquired chaos divine artifact. Are you interested in watching? Leng Ruoxue threw out another bait. The reason why she spared no effort in trying to abduct Wei Yi was because this guy had once received Master's true inheritance in the field of forging. According to Tsang's gossip, he still had Master's forging experience. Such a talent, of course she couldn't let him go. With him around, he might even be able to give her some inspiration. Ho Tian Chaos Divine Artifact? Hearing this, Wei Yi's eyes lit up. When Leng Ruoxue saw him, she knew that he must have heard of it. She nodded and said, Are you interested in participating? Even though you'll probably only be able to watch. We must watch. Wei Yi's eyes were shining, clearly very interested. Then you'll have to leave this place with me, Leng Ruoxue replied honestly. Can't you refine it here? Wei Yi said, somewhat conflicted. Demon City is my real home. I miss home. Leng Ruoxue said pitifully. In order to successfully abduct him, she had to pretend to be pitiful. But what do you plan to do here? Wei Yi could not help but ask. This place. We can only leave it for now. Leng Ruoxue said after some thought. After all, she still needed this place. However, she wouldn't use this place as a base. After all, the environment here was too bad. All right, they'll go back with you, but I'll have to bring everyone here. Wei Yi requested. This was the power he had accumulated over the years. Although it was not very strong, it was these people who had accompanied him during his most difficult times, so no matter when or where, he would not leave these people and leave by himself. Sure, there are plenty of places in Demon City. Leng Ruoxue agreed. After that, the two of them discussed some details, and then Wei Yi left to inform his subordinates to move. Leng Ruoxue had also returned to her room. Not long after, Feng Hua and Feng Miao found Leng Ruoxue. The two of them looked at each other hesitatingly, neither of them willing to speak first. Seeing their reaction, Leng Ruoxue could only ask directly, "What's wrong? Do you have something to say to me?" "Master, are we leaving this place?" Feng Hua carefully asked. "Yes." Leng Ruoxue nodded. Then the Phoenix King. Feng Hua only said 2 words and couldn't continue. He really wasn't suitable to ask this kind of thing. Chapter 2947, Twin 12. You want to know when the Phoenix King will save you? The 6th elder sent you here to ask, right? Leng Ruoxue asked with a faint smile. She only found the 2 old phoenixes' coyness funny. As her beastie, he naturally could not hide his thoughts from her. "Master, don't blame little 6. She's just too worried about Feng Wu, so she asked us to ask her. She didn't mean to rush you, so don't worry." Feng Miao was afraid that her master would be angry, so she quickly explained on behalf of the 6th elder. "I understand. But, 6th elder, how can you be so sure that I can save the Phoenix King?" Leng Ruoxue was a little confused. Where did the old phoenix get its confidence from? "Master, in the entire divine realm, if even you are unable to save the Phoenix King, then no one would be able to save the Phoenix King." Feng Hua laughed and said. Hearing his words, Leng Ruoxue was speechless. So their confidence in her came from their flattery. However, the matters of the Phoenix King, the White Tiger King, and the Dragon Emperor really had to be brought forward on the agenda. He just didn't know if his current strength was enough to unseal the fog ice. When she thought of this, she felt sorry for the Mother Parasol Tree. After all, when she left the Phoenix tribe with the Mother Parasol Tree, she had said that she would try to save the Phoenix King within 10 years. However, she did not expect to use so much time for cultivation. Fortunately, after the Mother Parasol Tree entered the bracelet, its strength recovered quickly, and at the same time, it also bought a lot of time for the Phoenix King. Otherwise, she was afraid that she would really feel sorry for the Mother Parasol Tree and the Phoenix battle. "Take me to the place where the Phoenix King was sealed. I'll take a look at the situation before making a decision," Leng Ruoxue said after some thought. "Master, we know that place. We'll take you there," Phoenix Fire hurriedly said when he heard this. Leng Ruoxue nodded her head and informed the evildoer of evil and the rest. They decided to go with her. When he walked to the gate, he met Wei Yi again. When he asked, he also said that he wanted to go. Left with no choice, Leng Ruoxue could only bring along a large group of people. Under the guidance of Feng Hua, Feng Miao, and the 6th elder, they found the place where the Phoenix King was sealed with great familiarity. There was also a tall mountain there. After entering the cave, they soon arrived underground. The underground area was pitch black. Leng Ruoxue lit up a small flame, illuminating the entire secret passage. "Master, we've searched for a long time before we found this place." Feng Hua answered Leng Ruoxue's questions as they walked. "There's no one guarding this place?" Leng Ruoxue. "No, I didn't. That old woman is probably too confident in her formation, so she didn't send anyone to guard this place. This is a good opportunity for us," Phoenix Flame said excitedly. "Don't be too happy yet. I believe that as long as someone dispels the formation or touches it, the mist will know. With her speed, she can definitely reach here in an instant." Hearing Phoenix Fire's words, Guard Wing couldn't help but pour cold water on his head. As a weapon master, he was naturally well-versed in array formations. According to what he knew, Wu Xian might not be proficient in alchemy and weapon refinement, but her attainments in array formations were unparalleled except for Suryu. This was also the main reason why he had to follow them. He was afraid that Leng Ruoxue and the others would activate the array formation without knowing the truth and alarm Wu Xian. At that time, no one could escape easily. Of course, that was unless Senior Tsong was willing to help. However, since he already knew Tsong's identity, he didn't have any hope of Tsong taking action. After all, as one of the older guys who had lived for a longer time in the divine realm, he knew more about certain things than others. Then, Then what should we do? Hearing Wei Yi's words, Phoenix Flame was somewhat at a loss. At the same time, she was also somewhat glad that they had not touched that formation. Otherwise, if it was really like what Wei Yi said, wouldn't the three of them be seeking their own deaths? Thanks, well, take one step at a time. Wei Yi sighed. Let's wait and see. Leng Ruoxue chimed in. The group continued to move forward. After walking for an unknown amount of time, they finally came to a relatively wide area. In front of them, there was a formation with a six-pointed star pattern that was spinning at a constant speed. They walked to the front of the formation. Other than Leng Ruoxue and Wei Yi, who were carefully observing the formation's operation pattern, the others could only stare with wide eyes at the commotion. The demon and the others were all formation blind. Shui, do you see the red mark in the center of the formation? I'm guessing that it's definitely connected to the mist ripple. Wei Yi pointed at a part of the formation. Leng Ruoxue nodded. She could tell that this was the most advanced God-binding array. The God-binding array was the most advanced array, but the one before her was made from the heart's blood of the mist ripple array. It was even more powerful. Compared to the God-binding array she had broken through in the Haotian continent, the one that was imprisoning the Phoenix King was 100 times more difficult. And this kind of divine binding array was set up by the Ripple Mist Bitch with all her strength. Therefore, unless one's strength was equal to that of the Ripple Mist, it would be very difficult to break this array. At least, she was powerless now. Just as the guard wing had said, the slightest touch of this formation would alarm the rime ice. After explaining to the three old phoenixes, Leng Ruoxue and her group went to the place where the White Tiger King and Dragon Emperor were sealed. When they arrived, Leng Ruoxue helplessly realized that the situation was far more complicated than she had imagined. Because these three God-binding arrays actually resonated with each other, if someone wanted to undo one of the arrays, then the other two would have to do their best to assist and resist. In short, undoing one God-binding array was actually equivalent to undoing three arrays. In this case, the amount of mental energy consumed would be relatively higher. Leng Ruoxue was furious, but she was also impressed by Wu Ling's clever thinking. She really didn't know how that flower could have such a complicated mind. They actually thought of a cooperative God-binding array? Compared to the three races that were sealed, the Dark Knight race was much more fortunate. However, Leng Ruoxue was also clear that Wu Jing must have thought that no one in the Haotian continent could undo the God-binding formation, which was why she didn't make it so complicated. In addition, it was also because setting up such a God-binding array would definitely take a lot of effort. But no matter what Rime Ice had done had incited Leng Ruoxue's fighting spirit. At the same time, Leng Ruoxue had decided to cause some trouble for Rime Ripples. Wasn't she unable to undo the God-binding array now? Then she would make sure that Wu Xian would not be able to control this formation either. Actions spoke louder than words. When Leng Ruoxue revealed her intention to set up an array here, Uncle Long and the others were stunned. Shui, what kind of formation do you want to set up? Uncle Long asked curiously. A defensive formation. I'm going to turn the three sealed lands and the city of abandoned ruins into iron walls so that she can't enter even if she wants to. Leng Ruoxue said through gritted teeth. Uncle Long didn't know what to say. He knew 6 things about formations, but he didn't know one. Therefore, he could not help Shui. That's a good idea. If Wu Chen knew about it, he would definitely go crazy. Wei Yi heard this and agreed. Wei, you assist me. Leng Ruoxue requested. Then she took out Shui Mo, who had been studying formations in the bracelet. Chapter 2948, Twin, 13. Where is this place? Shui Mo couldn't help but ask after he came out and saw the dark place. The land where the 3 kings are sealed. Shui Mo, I'm going to set up a defensive formation here. You and Wei Yi, come and help me. Leng Ruoxue said seriously. No problem, he said. The two of them nodded at the same time. Then, they saw Leng Ruoxue take out countless top-grade crystals of various colors. Shui Mo was fine as he was used to Leng Ruoxue's wealth. Wei Yi, on the other hand, couldn't help but widen his eyes and look at Leng Ruoxue in disbelief. Don't tell him that they were going to use top-grade crystals to set up the formation? Although the higher the grade of the crystal, the more powerful the formation, but using so many top-grade crystals, wasn't it a bit too wasteful? In his view, high-grade Jingshi was enough. However, Leng Ruoxue had clearly made up her mind to use top-grade crystals. She continued to toss out crystals. In the end, Wei Yi was numb from watching. When he turned around and saw the calm faces of Uncle Long and the others, he realized that he had seen too little of the world. So, Tycoon, please be my mistress. He was really too rich. Wei Yi deeply felt that, compared to Leng Ruoxue, he had wasted his time all these years. In the end, the extremely indignant Wei Yi hugged the pile of premium crystal ores and drooled all over the ground. Then, he started to help Leng Ruoxue. The defense division's formation skills could not be compared to Shui Mos, so they could only act as their assistants. The main force in setting up the formation was naturally Leng Ruoxue and Shui Mo. The formation they were going to set up this time was quite large, and they were going to use a lot of Jingshi. Moreover, all of them were top-grade Jingshi. Wei Yi's flesh hurt as he watched the top-grade Jingshi disappear into the formation. However, those Jingshi were not his, so the pain was in vain. It took about half a month to set up the 3 formations. Once she was done with the 3 formations, Leng Ruoxue turned her attention to the City of Abandoned Ruins. The area of the City of Desolation was larger, so it required more top-grade crystals. However, Leng Ruoxue did not care. After all, the City of Desolation now belonged to her, so it was necessary to protect it. Lu Fan was excited when he saw that Leng Ruoxue was going to set up an array in the City of Abandoned Ruins. Originally, he was worried that his former superior would come to find trouble with him. But now, with the defensive formation, the safety factor had doubled. This time, it took nearly 10 days to set up the defense formation for the City of Abandoned Ruins. After the formation was set up, no one was happier than Lu Fan. However, as soon as the formation was activated, Wu Chen, who was far away in Yu City, immediately felt that something was wrong. This was because her connection with her clone had been cut off. After a few more contacts, Wu Yen decisively left the Imperial City and went to the City of Abandoned Ruins to find out what was going on. One should know that Fog Phoenix originally had 3 clones. Leng Ruoxue had already killed 2 of them. This one in the City of Abandoned Ruins was definitely her last one. Of course, this one referred to her stronger clones. To put it bluntly, it was a clone that had matured. Therefore, he could not afford to lose any more. Thanks as for the 2 clones that she had split out later, they were still too weak and could not be counted on at all. As such, this clone was even more important. As for Leng Ruoxue, she would never have thought that even without touching the formation that sealed the 3 kings, she would still attract the attention of that despicable person from the Ripple Mist. Wu Jing's speed was extremely fast. Before Leng Ruoxue and the rest could notice, she had already arrived at the city gate of the City of Abandoned Ruins. Looking at the array that covered the sky of the City of Abandoned Ruins, Ripple of Fog was furious. Who was it? Who had set up an array on her territory? At this moment, Wu Xian did not even connect the formation to Leng Ruoxue. Instead, she started to attack the defensive formation above the City of Abandoned Ruins in a very rough manner. She was burning with anger and really wanted to know who dared to mess with her, a divine master. Snatching food from her mouth was definitely an act of courting death. The moment she launched her attack, Leng Ruoxue and the others in the City Lord's mansion had already known. After seeing the fog through the light screen, Leng Ruoxue and the rest looked at each other in shock. Uncle Long even said what everyone was thinking, "Why is this old woman here?" "Blood Cherry Blossom," Leng Ruoxue said with certainty. At the same time, she felt a little regretful. How could she have forgotten about the spy? If it wasn't for the fear of alerting Wu Jing, she would have destroyed the flower directly. But now, she had still alerted the snake. When they heard that it was the Blood Cherry Blossom's doing, everyone immediately became furious and rushed into the secret chamber. Then, they glared at the Blood Cherry Blossom, who was on the verge of collapse from being tortured by the rabbits in the room, with fire-spitting eyes. The shriveled Blood Cherry Blossom, whose flowers and leaves had drooped down, suddenly saw so many people pouring into her residence. She first trembled, then choked with sobs and pleaded, "Take these rabbits away. Wu, I won't suck blood anymore, I'll be a vegetarian, okay? You were the one who informed the Ripple Mist bitch?" Lung Ruoxue asked directly. "The Divine Master is here?" Blood Cherry Blossom asked cautiously upon hearing this. "She's here. However, if you're the one who informed her to come and save you, I'm afraid she'll be disappointed. Because before she can save you, I will definitely destroy you first." Lung Ruoxue replied honestly. Hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Xue Qinghua shuddered and hurriedly said, "I didn't inform the God Lord. Really, please believe me. I didn't tell him. Wu, I'm very obedient, please don't accuse me, okay?" The Blood Cherry Blossom wanted to cry but had no tears. Although it had done many bad things, it had become extremely obedient under the threat of these rabbits. Now, its only dream was to hope that these rabbits would disappear before its eyes. What Divine Master? Those were all fleeting clouds. Distant water can't quench present thirst, it's more reliable to save yourself. But now it had clearly done nothing, yet it was being wronged. So, this was not how a prisoner of war should be treated. I really want to protest. The Blood Cherry Blossom's heart was filled with worry, and its flower head drooped down even more. Seeing how aggrieved it was, Lung Ruoxue felt a little sympathy for it and believed its words. After all, it had been so many days since Wu Chen had rushed over. It might not have been the Blood Cherry Blossom that had informed him. But if it wasn't him, then who was the one who told on him? In the City Lord's mansion, from Lu Fan to the ordinary guards, they were all bound by Tsong's contract. Naturally, they couldn't tell on him. It was even more impossible for Uncle Long and the others. Unless there were still some spies of that slut in the city. Girl, it shouldn't be the one who said it. It doesn't dare. At this moment, Azure finally spoke some words of justice, causing Blood Cherry Blossom to be extremely touched. In fact, she even felt that this rabbit didn't seem as terrifying as before. At least it was a good rabbit with a bright heart and clear eyes. It should be because of the defensive formation. The Blood Cherry Blossom is in contact with Rime Ice every day. After we finished setting up the defensive formation, the connection between the two of them was probably cut off. This naturally raised the suspicions of that bitch, and she was drawn here as well. Thinking about it, Tsong guessed. It had to be said that it was true. Even though this Blood Cherry Blossom clone had been reporting to Ripple Mist daily, ever since this place had been occupied by Lung Ruoxue and the others, and it had been threatened by a group of rabbits, its daily report had become a mere decoration. In addition, with Tsong's covetous eyes, it did not dare to ask for help from the Divine Master. It was afraid that it would be like what Lung Ruoxue had said, dying before the Divine Master could even arrive. If that was the case, it would be better to continue on like this. At least it would be able to keep its life. Chapter 2949, Twin 14. It was because of this that it had not reported the situation in the City of Abandoned Relics truthfully for so many days. As a result, the fog lost control of this place completely. However, the defense formation had aroused the fog's suspicion. When she arrived here, she had already noticed that some changes had occurred in this place that were out of her control, which made her completely angry. My connection with the Divine Master has indeed been cut off. Hearing Tsong's words, Blood Cherry nodded her head repeatedly. Why didn't you say so earlier? Did you do it on purpose? Lung Ruoxue squinted her beautiful eyes and continued to question him. No, it wasn't he. I just tried and found out that I couldn't contact the Divine Master. I didn't hide it on purpose. Please believe me. Blood Cherry Blossom said in an aggrieved and sullen voice. When Lung Ruoxue heard this, she looked deeply at the Blood Cherry Blossom for a while before warning, I'll believe you for now. Remember, your life is in our hands. We can decide your life and death at any time, and you won't be able to wait for the Ripple Mist bitch to save you. So don't play any tricks. I don't dare. I don't dare. I'm very obedient. I promise. The Blood Cherry Blossom said in an extremely spineless manner. Now that it knew of Lung Ruoxue's identity, It was absolutely obedient in front of her. This was because it knew that its two sisters had died at Lung Ruox's hands. As such, how would it dare to play any more tricks? It wasn't like he was tired of living. Remember your words. After giving her warning, Lung Ruoxue led the demon and the others out of the secret chamber. Once they left, Xue Qinghua finally heaved a sigh of relief. It was a pity that it didn't sweat. Otherwise, it would have wiped it away madly. So, its life was really hanging by a thread just now. It had almost lost its life. However, even though Lung Ruoxue and the rest had already left, there was still a rabbit that was instructed by Tsong to threaten, "Little flower, my boss said that if you don't listen, we'll eat you." As the rabbit spoke, it revealed its shiny, sharp front teeth, causing Xue Cherry Blossoms to shiver in fear. She hurriedly promised, "I promise to be obedient." "That's more like it," the rabbit that had been warned said as it touched the blood cherry blossom petals with satisfaction. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue and the rest had returned to the living room and were admiring Wu Cheng's violent actions through the light screen. At the same time, they were testing out the defensive formation's ability to withstand a beating. At this moment, Wu Chen was obviously a little crazy. One after another, divine power smashed onto the defensive array as if it was free, but the defensive array did not move at all. It could not even crack open a gap. Lung Ruoxue was satisfied. The fog became more and more crazy. More divine power rained down on the defensive formation. At this moment, the defensive formation that had been unresponsive all this time suddenly burst out with a brilliant light. Then, a majestic divine power poured out of the defensive formation and hit Wu Chen. This divine power was the one that she had thrown out before. Now, it was returned to her without any waste. Wu Luan, who had never thought that the defensive formation in front of her would counterattack, took the hit. Immediately, blood spurted out of her mouth and fell to the ground. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Wu Yan's anger surged up. He stared at the fire-breathing Shuang in the defensive array, wishing he could burn a hole in the defensive array in front of him. In the next second, ripple of mist disappeared. At the same time, a burst of cheers erupted in the living room of the city lord's mansion. "Thanks, this defensive formation is so powerful." It seemed to be silent, but it gave the fog ice a fatal blow in the end. Ice Soul was speechless. The more powerful you are, the more severe the injuries you'll suffer when you attack this defensive formation. Lung Ruoxue answered with a smile. Poor Ripple Witch. Everyone present silently lit a candle for her. Their sympathy for her was like a torrential river. Wu Ice's actions had also verified the effectiveness of the defensive formation. For a moment, Lung Ruoxue and the rest were extremely satisfied with this. However, Wu Ling was not just depressed. After returning to her hall, she sat on her throne with her injuries and thought hard. In the end, no matter how she thought about it, she felt that the defensive array of the City of Abandoned Ruins was set up by Lung Ruoxue. This fact also made her furious. More importantly, if it was really Lung Ruoxue who did it, then they would be in deep trouble. The abandoned city might seem remote, but it was very important to her because it was one of the places where she grew her food. At the same time, it helped her earn a large amount of wealth every day. If Lung Ruoxue took over the city, it would affect her greatly. This was also the last thing she wanted to see. However, even though she wanted to deny that Lung Ruoxue was in the City of Abandoned Ruins, she could not convince herself. One must know that in the entire firmament, other than Lung Ruoxue and her gang, no one else had the ability or the guts to oppose her. Moreover, it was enough to have Lung Ruoxue, who was giving her a headache. She really did not want to cause any more trouble. If that was the case, she would have no way to deceive herself. Lung Ruoxue. Damn it, why do you have to go against me? The anger in Wu Yan's heart roared. Her unstable state of mind directly aggravated her injuries. After summoning her trusted aide and giving her some instructions, the depressed ripple of fog went into seclusion to recuperate. After Lung Ruoxue and the rest stayed in the City of Abandoned Ruins for a few more days, they decided to return home. Before returning home, Lung Ruoxue was still worried about the blood cherry blossom. She felt that this fellow was like a time bomb. If one day it went crazy and started sucking blood again, the people in the city lord's residence would be in for a bad time. The city lord's mansion was now her property, so she was naturally unwilling to see any losses here. After she told everyone about her worries, everyone fell silent for a while. Then Uncle Long said, "It's better to just kill him, why leave this scourge alive?" He didn't have a good impression of the blood cherry blossom at all, and he wouldn't forget how many outrageous things the previous 2 blood cherry blossoms had done. Therefore, he was definitely in favor of uprooting the weeds and eliminating the roots. In any case, Rhyme Ice already knew about the abnormality here, so there was no need to keep the flower in case it alerted the enemy. "Girl, bring it back to Demon City. I'll handle it," Azure said with a smile. "All right." Lung Ruoxue was more than happy that Azure was willing to take over. Just like that, the fate of the blood cherry blossom was decided. When the blood cherry blossom learned that it was going to be taken away, it became flustered and kept begging for it to stay in the city of abandoned ruins. Unfortunately, no one accepted its suggestion. The blood cherry blossom seemed to know that it was not far from death if it left this place, and it was so listless that it could no longer raise its spirits. On the way back to Demon City, Azure teleported with a large group of people. In less than a month, they had returned to Demon City. When they arrived at the foot of the Demon City's mountain, Sung immediately refused to be the coachman. The White Tiger Great Elder and the other beasts who had been guarding the foot of the mountain were in disbelief when they saw Lung Ruoxue's group of people. They finally confirmed it again, and finally proved that their eyes were not playing tricks on them. Their master had really returned. "Master!" The White Tiger First Elder choked with emotion and wanted to pounce on him, but Song kicked him away when he saw this. Chapter 2950, Twin 15. After rolling a few times in the air, the White Tiger First Elder landed safely. He looked at Lung Ruoxue with an aggrieved expression. "So, I only wanted to show my affection to my master. Why do I have to treat such a cute little animal like this?" It was said that their master was especially tolerant towards cute beasts, so this large group of white tigers had always maintained their tiger bodies in order to have the opportunity to lie and act cute in front of their master. But now, this opportunity had been taken away by a rabbit. It was really too cruel. However, the Totoro, kitty, and rabbit were the 3 types of beasts that could not be provoked the most in the immortal realm now. Thus, even if he was abused, the White Tiger First Elder did not dare to say anything. The First Elder of the White Tiger clan looked at Lung Ruoxue with wronged expression and prayed in his heart. "Look at me. I'm such a tough white tiger." The White Tiger First Elder, who was very confident in his cute appearance, imitated the soft and weak little beast and continued to call out softly, "Master, you're back." Lung Ruoxue shuddered. After shaking off all the goosebumps on the ground, she said with a serious expression, "Great Elder White Tiger, you're really not suited to act childish. Besides, I'm not your master." After saying this, Lung Ruoxue walked around the white tigers blocking her way and went up the mountain. Uncle Long and the others, who were holding back their laughter, glanced at the White Tiger First Elder with sympathy and left as well. Only the guard wing took a few more glances at the White Tiger Great Elder, then shook his head and sighed. The morals of the world are getting worse by the day. Why has the White Tiger race declined to such a state? With that, he left as well, leaving behind the White Tiger First Elder, who had an awkward expression and was in a mess. At this moment, Mu Li had already seen through the light screen that Lung Ruoxue and the rest had returned safely. He personally came out to welcome them. "Welcome home," Mu Li said with a smile as he stood at the entrance of the Lung family's main residence. "Thank you. Is everything all right?" Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile. "It's all right," Mu Li said with a guilty conscience. "Girl, he's lying to you." He sharply sensed that something was wrong with Mu Li and directly exposed him. Hearing this, Mu Li couldn't help but roll her eyes. She looked at Lung Ruoxue innocently and didn't say anything. "What happened?" Lung Ruoxue asked indifferently. She obviously trusted Song's judgment more. "If you have something to say, then say it." The demon also roared. "It's the Ning family. Master Ning didn't want me to tell you." Mu Li said helplessly. This wasn't what he wanted to say. He could only blame this rabbit for being too sharp and cunning. What's wrong with the Ning family? Did someone make Godfather angry again? Lung Ruoxue guessed. No, I'm not. The Ning family has been captured by a group of black-clothed people, who should be the people of the Ripple Mist Bitch. The other party has requested to use you to exchange for the Ning family. Seeing that he could no longer hide it, Mu Li naturally told her everything he knew. This was also the main reason why Master Ning had asked him to hide it from Lung Ruoxue. Master Ning had said that if Shui knew about it, she would definitely take a risk for him. Hence, he could not let Lung Ruoxue know. You want me to exchange? The rhyme bitch is doing such a tasteless thing? Lung Ruoxue truly felt that she had overestimated that old hag in the past. This was probably the real face of that wretched woman from the Ripple Mist. That old hag has never had class. Ice Soul pouted. Thanks, that's right. Uncle Long nodded in agreement. He and Ice Spirit agreed on this point. Shui, what do you plan to do? Dongfang Yu asked worriedly. He was in a dilemma. On one hand, he didn't want Lung Ruoxue to send a sheep into the tiger's mouth. On the other hand, he was worried about the Ning family. Of course, he was only worried about the Ning family because of Master Ning. The most important thing was that Master Ning was Shui Heir's godfather and had always loved Shui. Now that the Ning family was in trouble, it would be unreasonable for him to stop Shui from helping, but if he really let Shui go, he would be worried that he would fall into the trap of fog. For a moment, he was so conflicted that he wanted to bang his head against the wall. Of course we're going to save them. Lung Ruoxue confirmed. She then turned to Mu Li and asked, where is the Ning family being held? Master Ning, Dongfang Lin, and the others have already gone to a valley not far from the imperial city. I just don't know what the situation is like now. Mu Li reported truthfully. They all went? Then why are you still hiding it from me? Lung Ruoxue was speechless. We didn't expect you to return so quickly. Oh right, the dragons, phoenixes and white tigers who were guarding the foot of the mountain also sent their beasts to help. Mu Li continued to report. No wonder I didn't see Qing at the foot of the mountain. Did that little phoenix go too? Lung Ruoxue could not help but ask. Yes, I am. Mu Li nodded. I'll go find them. Lung Ruoxue replied without hesitation. When the group of people who had followed Lung Ruoxue back heard this, they immediately wanted to follow her. Lung Ruoxue had just taken 2 steps when she stopped. She looked at Wei Yi and the rest and said, you guys stay here. On what basis? Little Shui, I'm a reverent god after all, you can't look down on me like this. Hearing this, Wei immediately protested. Their combat power is too low. They'll only be throwing meat buns at dogs if they go. Lung Ruoxue said in disdain. Wei Yi and the others were in tears. He was so direct and didn't consider their feelings at all. Was this really a good thing? Mu Li, I'll leave little Bun Hit Dog and the others to you. Most of them are blacksmiths. Arrange a base for them. Lung Ruoxue ignored the resentful gazes of Wei Yi and the others and turned to instruct Mu Li. Wait, I want to go with you. Let someone else arrange it for them. Mu Li requested. Are you sure? Lung Ruoxue squinted her beautiful eyes and asked indifferently. I'll stay behind to protect them. Mu Li said fearfully. You can't threaten me like this. Bad guy. After not seeing her for a few days, he realized that Lung Ruoxue was getting worse and worse. Mu Li stayed behind, feeling aggrieved. She watched Lung Ruoxue and the rest leave in a carefree manner. Her heart was filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. But he's always the one left behind to look after the house? Why was he always left behind? Was it really a good idea for a powerful Mingzun realm expert like him to be treated as a house-guarding beast instead of being used on the edge of a blade? He felt that the ice spirit was more suitable for the house suppression beast. However, it was obvious that Lung Ruoxue did not think that way. Yu Sang turned around and looked at Wei. Mu Li asked indifferently, You're called Little Meat Bun? Your sister. You're the one who's called Little Meat Bun. Your whole family is Little Meat Bun. Hearing this nickname, Wei Yi jumped and roared like a lit explosive. He was crying in his heart. Ever since Tsang called him Little Bun, Leng Ruoxue and the others had heard it. Now, those bad guys would call him Little Bun whenever they bullied him. Every time he heard this name, he wanted to go crazy. However, it was obvious that in front of Leng Ruoxue and the others, he was a vulnerable group who didn't care about his identity as a weapon refiner. Woo! He was begging for some kind person to help him. Our Nether Empress doesn't call you that? You dare to deny it? Mu Li's eyes widened as he asked in disbelief. Chapter 2951, Twin, 16. Who is the Nether Empress you speak of? Wei Yi blinked his eyes and asked in confusion. He didn't know any Nether Empress. It's Leng Ruoxue. Mu Li said. Who could tell him what the Nether Empress was? Was there such a position in the divine realm? Wei Yi was very confused, and Mu Li was too lazy to explain to him. He stretched out his arm and put it on Wei Yi's shoulder. Little Bun Hitug, let's go. I'll go arrange a place for you to stay. Damn it. Can you stop calling me Little Bun? Wei Yi was completely driven mad. He glared at Mu Li as if he wanted to swallow him. Is Big Meat Bun okay? Mu Li sighed helplessly. You bastard. Damn it. Could he not live without the words meat bun? Facing Wei Yi's gloominess, Xiao Fan and the others who had been following him were silent. However, their trembling shoulders revealed their happy mood. Seeing them like this, Wei Yi was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Glaring at Mu Li, Wei Yi turned around and entered the Leng family's main house. Baozi, where are you going? Mu Li quickly asked. Aren't you going to arrange our accommodation? Wei Yi gritted his teeth and decided to ignore the two words, bun hit dog. I'm arranging a base for you, not a residence. You guys have to build your own houses. Mu Li explained. Understood. Wei Yi nodded and then motioned for Mu Li to lead the way. After bullying Wei Yi, Mu Li was in a good mood. He happily brought Wei Yi to the edge of the Qilin clan's base. Right now, only the Qilin clan and a few new clans from Demon City were living there. Wei Yi and the others were arranged to live on the other side of the Qilin clan, becoming close neighbors with the Qilin clan. However, the depressed guard wing didn't know that his neighbor would be a Kirin. There was almost no need to build new houses for the guards. As artifact masters, what did they have the most? With various tools, their houses were soon erected on Demon City's land. Bun Hit Dog and the others are so efficient. Seeing this scene, Mu Li exclaimed in admiration. Could he not use the word waiting? As one of the waiting members, Xiao Fan expressed his opinion. Originally, only his boss was called Meat Bun. Now that the word waiting was added, they became the Meat Bun clan. And it was the Meat Bun clan that couldn't resist. Unfortunately, no one cared about what he thought. As the representative of Bun Hit Dog's family, they had been waiting for a long time. Do you have new neighbors? At this moment, a curious voice was heard. Then, a tall man walked out of the house next to theirs. The man had a friendly smile on his face and was nibbling on a carrot as thick as an arm. This image was so beautiful that people didn't dare to look at him directly. Yes, I am. You two have to get along well in the future. You're not allowed to bully Bun Hit Dog's family. Mu Li said with a serious face. I want tea. He won tea. I will take good care of Bun Hit Dog's family. The man promised with a smile. Bun Hit Dog's family. You can't get rid of it? Xiao Fan and the others were all worried. They had been waiting for someone just a moment ago, but now their family had completely changed. This was really too hurtful. On the contrary, Wei Yi was calmer. He extended his hand to the man in a friendly manner and introduced himself. Hello, I'm the Guardian Wing. Hello, Meat Bun. I'm Hui Yu, the Qilin clan leader. After taking a bite of the carrot, Hui Yu also extended his hand courteously. Thanks. At first, Wei Yi had a lot of opinions about being called Meat Bun even though he had already introduced himself. However, when he heard the words, Qilin clan leader, at the end, he was instantly horrified. What? He didn't hear wrong? Qilin clan leader? Was it these few words? Turning around, Wei Yi couldn't care about anything else and directly pulled Xiao Fan over and asked softly, "Did this person just say that his name is Hui Yu, the Qilin clan's patriarch?" "Why yes." Xiao Fan trembled as he replied. He really wanted to faint. "Did you? How could the Qilin clan chief be here? Can I live here happily?" After confirming, Wei Yi's face turned pale and he was speechless. What's with the feeling of wanting to move? Seeing through Wei Yi's thoughts, Mu Li smiled and said, "Your strength. That's why I arranged for you guys to be beside the Qilin race in the hope that they can protect you. Calm down. You'll get used to it." "What if I can't get used to it?" Wei Yi looked at Mu Li pitifully. "I agree to you calling me Meat Bun, okay? Don't play me like this. So, I strongly request to move." Which normal person would dare to be neighbors with the Qilin race? He was scared to death. "Slowly get used to it. You'll encounter anything here, you have to be strong." Seeing through Guard Wing's thoughts, Mu Li patted him on the shoulder and encouraged him. After saying this, he turned and left. Wei Yi and the others, who were left behind, stared at Fire Yu for a long time. Fire Yu's eyes were sore. In the end, he begged for mercy. "Stop staring, I can't keep staring at you, I admit defeat." "You bastard." They weren't in the middle of a competition, all right? They were just nervous. He was nervous. "Don't be afraid. Our Qilin clan doesn't eat humans." Sensing Wei Yi's unspoken words, Hui Yu said honestly. In order not to give the new neighbor too much stimulation, he chose to go back to his room. "Boss, what do we do now? Even though the Kirin said they don't eat people, I'm still scared." Xiao Fan said nervously after Hui Yu left. "What can we do?" Colmix, "We've already boarded a pirate ship." Wei Yi wanted to cry but had no tears. "Are we going to be a Meat Bun family for the rest of our lives?" Xiao Fan was not willing to accept this. This nickname was really not nice. Those who didn't know would definitely know how much they loved meat buns. "You think I want to? It's all because we're too weak that we're being despised. All of you had better work hard and start cultivating properly from today." When Wei Yi heard this, he was enraged. He was a reverent god. Reverent god level. He was actually despised. Was there any justice left in this world? However, it was undeniable that as a reverent god, his combat power was not strong. Who asked him to specialize in refining? Facing Lung Ruoxue, who had extraordinary strength and knew how to refine pills and weapons, Wei Yi felt that he was too weak. A sense of melancholy welled up in his heart. How was he going to get out of this feeling of inferiority? After that, Wei Yi went back into his room, depressed. If Lung Ruoxue didn't call him, he probably wouldn't step out of his room. At the same time, Lung Ruoxue and the rest had already reached the edge of the valley that Mu Li had mentioned. When they reached the outer area, everyone sized up the environment. The valley in front of them was not large. There was only a mountain peak that was about tens of meters tall in the entire valley. And in the divine realm, this kind of mountain peak could only be considered a small mountain. The depressing thing was that this valley was very small, and the trees were not very lush. As a result, as long as they entered, they could be discovered by the enemy. Of course, the enemy had to be on that mountain. However, after Lung Ruoxue and the others' observation, other than the mountain peak, there was basically no other suitable place to place the hostages. From this, they came to the conclusion that the target was obvious. Chapter 2952, Twin, 17. After making Ling Wei and the others invisible, Lung Ruoxue and the others stepped into the only path to enter and exit the valley. Following the path, they walked all the way to the foot of the mountain. There, they just happened to see Master Ning and the others who were walking in circles. Godfather and the others seemed to have lost their way. "Godfather!" Lung Ruoxue called out and revealed herself. The rest of the people also revealed themselves. Hearing the familiar voice, Master Ning turned around abruptly. His expression changed slightly, but he quickly regained his composure. He walked towards Lung Ruoxue with a smile and asked, "Shui, why are you here? And why is Godfather here?" Lung Ruoxue asked instead of answering. "We're here for a walk. I heard the scenery here is pretty good. Master Ning wrung his fingers uneasily and lowered his head. Oh, Qing, you're also here for a stroll? Leng Ruoxue continued to ask as she looked at the little phoenix who was at a loss. Why yes, you're Leng Ruoxue? Qing didn't dare to recognize them because Leng Ruoxue and the others had changed their appearances to save them. Of course, she didn't recognize the 3 old phoenixes that were the 6th elder. Leng Ruoxue nodded. Once Qing confirmed it, she immediately grabbed Leng Ruoxue's hand nervously and said, Leng Ruoxue, something has happened to our grand ancestor. Finally seeing Leng Ruoxue, Qing Er's heart relaxed. However, tears still fell from her eyes. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue patted her hand and said, They're fine now. Really? Qing couldn't believe it. When did this happen? Why didn't she know about it? Qing. At this time, the 6th elder called out, and then pulled Qing to the side to have a heart-to-heart talk. With that, Master Ning became Leng Ruoxue's main target. Swear, you guys are so fast. Seeing that Leng Ruoxue was only staring at him without saying a word, Master Ning became nervous in an instant. At this time, even if he wanted to lie to himself, he did not dare to continue lying to himself that Shuer had come here by accident. Shuer, you know everything? Master Ning made up his mind and asked in a low voice. I understand. I just don't know if Godfather is still trying to fool me. Leng Ruoxue nodded and replied calmly. Shuer, I didn't. Master Ning was very guilty. He just wanted to get away with it, but more importantly, he didn't want Shuer to take risks here. No. Leng Ruoxue squinted her beautiful eyes and said with a faint smile. All right, I was wrong. Seeing that Shuer was about to get angry, Master Ning quickly admitted his mistake, but then he hid his resentment with a resentful face. That damned Mu Li, he actually betrayed me. Mu Li didn't betray you. We saw that he was hiding something from us and forced them to say it. Leng Ruoxue replied honestly. I see. Shuer, I really didn't want you to come here. Because this could very well be a trap. Master Ning said carefully while looking at Leng Ruoxue's expression. He was relieved to see that she was not angry. Thanks, if I didn't come, would the other party let me go? Leng Ruoxue sighed. It doesn't matter if we let him go or not. I'm planning to rob him anyway. Master Ning said honestly. Leng Ruoxue was speechless. Her godfather's bandit nature was getting more and more intense. Godfather, if Rhyme really wants to use me to exchange for people, I will definitely use the Ning family. After all, they were all taken hostage by the Rhyme bitch because of me. Leng Ruoxue revealed her decision. Immediately, everyone opposed it, especially Master Ning, who opposed it the most fiercely. Shuer, you can't do this. If you do this, won't you be falling into the enemy's trap? I've already decided that if I really can't get her, I'll just give up. Master Ning said decisively. Hearing this, everyone fell silent. Ice Spirit patted Master Ning's shoulder and comforted him. Don't worry. We have so many people, we can definitely save the Ning family safely. Moreover, Wu Ling is injured now, so she may not be willing to fight us head-on. He had experienced the pain of making a choice, so he understood Master Ning very well and his choice. After all, he had been like this before. Although this choice was not very fair to the Ning family, for the safety of the entire divine world, if it really came to that, there was no other way. Of course, he didn't think that they couldn't save the Ning family with so many people. With Master Ning's words, he decided that, just based on Master Ning's protective heart for Shuer, he would save the Ning family's little guys no matter what. Wu Qin is injured again? Master Ning couldn't help asking. Yes, but this time, she suffered a backlash from her own strength. It has nothing to do with us. Ice Spirit said with a smile. He even felt pity for Wu Jia. She was really unlucky. Even drinking cold water would get stuck in her teeth. Godfather, the Ripple Mist bitch kidnapped the Ning family this time. It's very likely that she was provoked by this injury. Leng Ruoxue added. What? Master Ning was confused. She kidnapped her own descendant after being provoked? Divine Master? He was really too lacking in class to actually vent his anger on some little fellows. Normally speaking, the stronger the expert, the more they would treasure their reputation. Thus, as long as it wasn't a mortal enemy or a clan extermination enmity, the expert wouldn't usually vent his anger on the ordinary clansmen of the other party. Just like Shuer and the others, they had always targeted Wu Chen alone. They had never kidnapped the guards of Yu City or the people of the Divine Master's estate as hostages. Of course, it would be a different story if those minor characters were to send themselves to their deaths. But at the very least, the strong would never take the initiative to bully the weak unless the two sides were hostile to each other to the extent of not resting until one of them was dead. And now, Wu Chen was clearly being pushed to the limit. As such, the Ning family had become the first target of Wu Yan's attack. Who asked them to have the closest relationship with Leng Ruoxue? Leng Ruoxue faced her godfather's thirst for knowledge and briefly told him about what had happened in the city of abandoned ruins. Master Ning sighed after hearing it. All of a sudden, he began to understand the ripple mist bitch. If it was anyone else who failed to attack the city and suffered a backlash from their own Shen power, they would probably not be happy. However, no matter how unhappy you are, you can't vent your anger on someone else's descendant, right? Sympathy was sympathy, but Master Ning also made up his mind. Except for Fog, he couldn't let anyone go. Master Ning's momentum instantly soared. Leng Ruoxue was relieved to see her godfather full of fighting spirit. "Godfather, let's go up the mountain." After that, Leng Ruoxue smiled. "Shuer, there seems to be a maze formation on this mountain. We've been searching for a long time, but we still can't find the way up." Hearing this, Master Ning immediately spat at Leng Ruoxue. "A bewildering formation? Let's go in and take a look." Leng Ruoxue asked with interest. When they reached the top of the mountain, Leng Ruoxue carried Song and Evildoer and walked at the front. There was indeed a bewildering array set up on this mountain. However, for someone like her who had mastered the array, breaking a small bewildering array was simply like playing around. Chapter 2953, Twin 18. Half a day later, they had already reached the top of the mountain. On the top of the mountain, there was a spacious house. A few men in black were standing guard outside the courtyard. When they saw Leng Ruoxue and her group suddenly appear, the few men in black were stunned for a moment before they reacted and loudly questioned, "Which scoundrel is it? State your name." When they heard this, Leng Ruoxue and the others didn't make a sound. At this moment, a little silver mouse the size of a palm came out from her sleeve. The little silver mouse took advantage of the tiger's might, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws as it roared, "You bastard! You're the rat, your entire family is a rat." When Leng Ruoxue and the rest heard this, they broke out in cold sweat. What was this little fellow blowing up at? They, who were called rats, had not even gotten angry yet? Moreover, seeing a silver rat calling the other party's entire family a bunch of rats, this kind of scene really looked very cute no matter how one looked at it. The few men in black were also dumbfounded. The whole family of rats? And these words came from the mouth of a rat? After coming to his senses, the man in black was furious. "Fuck. You're a rat, okay? Your whole family is full of rats." The man in black was so angry that his face and neck turned red as he shouted, "Are you blind? I'm so pretty and cute, how can I be a mouse? I'm the king of silver rats with the noblest status. Ignorant humans, quickly retreat." The silver rat king said furiously. The noble silver rat was called a rat by a human without posture. This was the greatest humiliation to it. The silver rat king was furious, and the consequences were severe. And the serious consequence was that it decisively complained to its dear master. "Master, these country bumpkins who have never seen the world call me a mouse. Don't lower yourself to the level of a dead person." Leng Ruoxue gently stroked the silver rat king's little head as she consoled it. She couldn't help but chuckle in her heart. This little thing was really too cute. Yes, I won't hold a grudge against a dead person. I'm a noble silver rat, so I have to pay attention to my status. The silver rat king said smugly. As for the few men in black who were listening to the conversation between Leng Ruoxue and the silver rat king, they were so angry that they wanted to vomit blood. Who was the dead man? It was obvious that it was them. You ignorant humans and rats. The men in black were furious again. You are the dead and the dead rats. Your sister. You dare to call us dead people. Little black eggs, I will destroy you in the name of justice. The Silver Rat King waved its little claws and roared. It then turned to look at its master and said, Master, you guys go. I'll cheer you guys on. After hearing the Silver Rat King's arrangement, Uncle Long and the others were speechless. This little guy had actually managed to command them, and they had become the Silver Rat King's thugs. Why did it feel so awkward? Lung Ruoxue, on the other hand, only patted the Silver Rat King's head in a pampering manner. Then she obediently released a few wind blades. The moment the wind blades were released, they immediately flew towards the black-robed men like meteors. Their speed was so fast that it was impossible to guard against them. Bang! Bang! After a few muffled sounds, the man in black, who had no time to react, fell to the ground and died with his eyes wide open. Mighty Master! Seeing this, the Silver Rat King clapped its little hands and cheered. She then stroked the Silver Rat King's fluffy little head and said to the people around her, Let's go in. Thanks, yes. Uncle Long and the others nodded, but Ching-er couldn't help but ask, We're going in like this? What if there's a trap? Azure has already searched with his divine senses. There is only one godly venerable rank expert and more than 10 godly sovereigns. Lung Ruoxue explained. At the same time, she turned to look at the experts on her side and felt that they were bullying her. Only this many people? Uncle Long couldn't believe it. What the hell was that old woman, Wu Ice, doing? In fact, this was what most of the people present were thinking. Especially after knowing that there were only 2 or 3 kittens in the house, they had to admit that they were a little disappointed. It could be said that Rhyme Ice's forces were quite mysterious, so they originally thought that they could get a glimpse of the other party's truth. But now that they knew that there were only a few people inside, their disappointment was obvious. So, the fog had gone through all this trouble just to play with them? It had to be said that everyone knew the truth. The reason Wu Xian captured the Ning family was really to cause trouble for Lung Ruoxue and the rest. She just wanted Lung Ruoxue to know that as long as she was willing, she could completely treat the people close to her enemy as fools and play with them. At this moment, she had no intention of completely falling out with Lung Ruoxue, so she naturally did not do anything to the Ning family. However, she believed that the experience this time would definitely make those around Lung Ruoxue extremely depressed. With that, her goal was achieved. There's only this much, Lung Ruoxue said with certainty. Everyone was silent. Don't fight with me for him. After a long while, Uncle Long was the first to shout and ran into the house. Dongfang Yu and the rest who were a step behind him followed closely behind. In the blink of an eye, only Lung Ruoxue, the demon, Song and Master Ning were left outside the house. Even the overexcited Silver Rat King had run inside to watch the show. Are we still going in? Lung Ruoxue was a little confused. Everyone was so fast. Shue-er, I think we've been played. Master Ning bit down with hatred. Before coming, he had imagined several outcomes, but he didn't expect that the other party would only send so few people to guard his own clansmen, and that Fog didn't even show up. Was she looking down on him? Yes, I am. Lung Ruoxue was also depressed. Previously, she had also thought that Rhyme was serious. Who knew that Rhyme bitch would actually play such a trick on them? How was she supposed to continue playing with this? One had to know that before she came, she was full of pride and even wanted to test the enemy with her own body. Now, all the preparations had been in vain. At the same time, Uncle Long and the others had already run into the house. They took care of the men in black in the courtyard and house without any effort and instantly rescued many trapped Ning family members. Shue, that reverend god has run away. The others have been cleaned up, and the Ning family has been rescued. Uncle Long walked out from inside and reported to Lung Ruoxue. Is the Ning family all right? Lung Ruoxue asked with concern. I don't know. They're all unconscious. Uncle Long said honestly. Let's go in and take a look. After Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, she brought the evildoer and the rest into the courtyard. At this moment, the Ning family had already been carried into the room. Lung Ruoxue went in to check, then said to her godfather, "Godfather, they've all been poisoned. It's no wonder that Rime Ice only sent so few people to guard this place. Is this poison very troublesome?" Master Ning couldn't help but ask. "It might be troublesome for others, but it's easy for me. Don't worry. They'll be fine after we give them the antidote." Lung Ruoxue consoled. "That's good." Hearing Shui Er's words, Master Ning was relieved. After that, Lung Ruoxue distributed the antidote to Uncle Long and the others, asking them to help the Ning family take it. Chapter 2954, Twin 19. Not long after, the Ning family, led by the second elder, woke up. As soon as he saw Master Ning, the second elder immediately shouted, "Forefather, have you been captured as well? What should we do?" Lung Ruoxue couldn't understand, while Master Ning's face was filled with disappointment. A reverent god had wiped out the entire Ning family. If such a thing were to spread, wouldn't he become a laughingstock in the divine world? The well water in the residence was poisoned, so we were poisoned. The second elder lowered his head and explained in embarrassment. "It's indeed a well-tested method." Lung Ruoxue nodded. Whatever the well water poison was, the success rate would always be the highest. "Miss Lung, you can't just let this matter go like this." Choking with sobs, the second elder turned to Lung Ruoxue for help. He did not dare to look at the family head's furious expression, so he had to get back at her no matter what. Otherwise, how could they face others in the future? "Then what do you want to do?" Lung Ruoxue blinked her eyes and asked. "Give him a taste of his own medicine. Didn't they poison the Ning family's well? Let's go to the Divine Lord's estate to poison them." The second elder said ruthlessly. "Very good. I support you. Go. Take care, I won't send you off." Lung Ruoxue waved goodbye to second elder, and second elder was dumbfounded. He didn't want to go personally. Looking at the second elder's dazed expression, Uncle Long and the others couldn't help but sneer. Hearing this laughter, the second elder's old face instantly turned red. "Miss Ling, can you stop playing with me? I don't have that ability, I just want to ask for your help." The second elder's voice became softer and softer, and his head hung lower and lower. "I won't help. If you want revenge, go by yourself." Lung Ruoxue rejected him directly. Instantly, the second elder wanted to cry. "Why is it like this? Dear, please help me." The second elder's face was sullen as he looked at Lung Ruoxue pitifully. Lung Ruoxue smiled and said in all seriousness, "I'm serious. However, I can help you make yourselves invisible." The second elder's eyes lit up. Invisibility works too? In this way, he didn't have to be afraid of being discovered by the people of Fog Ice. At the same time, the second elder immediately understood. So, this was what Lung Ruoxue meant when she said she wanted him to take revenge himself? Miss Lung was really too kind. She actually protected his face and dignity so much. This simply made him extremely touched. The excited second elder immediately requested to take revenge. Lung Ruoxue was also very supportive of this. She told the members of the Lung family that Ling Wei wanted to go to hide while they waited for their victorious return. "Thanks, Godfather, there's no need to be so polite between us. Besides, second elder and the others were indeed implicated because of me. I should help them and let them vent their anger." Lung Ruoxue laughed. Hearing this, Master Ning nodded and stopped being polite to Lung Ruoxue. The next day, the second elder and the others returned with smiles on their faces. After successfully poisoning the well water of the Godlord's estate, they were no longer depressed and were all refreshed. Seeing the Ning family's people, led by the second elder, who were obviously showing off, Master Ning's face turned sour and he shouted, "From today onwards, all of you will be undergoing special training. You are only allowed to come out when you are qualified." After saying this, Master Ning directly threw the worrying Ning family to Huanchin to train. Out of safety considerations, he simply moved the Ning family's base to the Demon City, and the Ning family's god realm became an empty shell. Not long after, a piece of shocking news spread out from the immortal realm. The Ning family, one of the 8 great divine domains of the divine realm, had been attacked. Master Ning was seriously injured. The attack was directed at the God Lord's mansion. For a time, the entire God world was in an uproar. No one in the divine world had expected that the divine master's estate would suddenly attack the Ning family. However, when they thought about the relationship between Master Ning and Lung Ruoxue, some people felt that it would happen sooner or later. It was just that it had happened so suddenly that no one was mentally prepared. The Ning family's god realm that was emptied out was also treated as a land without an owner by some people. However, those ambitious forces didn't dare to act rashly without knowing the extent of the Ning family's casualties. After all, a thin camel was still bigger than a horse. Although the Ning family had been attacked by the Divine Lord's estate, there was no news of the death of the Ning family's master. The Divine Lord's estate didn't say anything either. Therefore, some people who wanted to take the Ning family's divine realm for themselves didn't dare to act directly. However, they didn't dare to attack the Ning family's god realm directly, but the forces around the Ning family's god realm had been subdued many times. When he heard the news, Master Ning's face turned green with anger. Detestable! This bunch of bastards! It was really like a tiger falling into the sun and being bullied by dogs. I'm not dead yet. You dare to have designs on the Ning family's divine realm? In the living room, Master Ning went berserk. Hearing his words, Uncle Long smiled and comforted him. Humans have always been this shameless. It's perfectly normal for them to be like this. Calm down. What did he mean by getting shot while lying down? Hearing Uncle Long's words, all the humans in the room fell silent. Apart from Uncle Dragon and Ice Spirit, everyone else in the living room seemed to be human. However, there were also humans who were in a dilemma, such as Mu Li. He was in a dilemma over whether he was considered a human. Mu Li, who couldn't be sure of her own species, decided to ignore Uncle Long's words. Of course, after Uncle Long said that, he also realized that he had attracted hatred, so he quickly corrected, "Don't misunderstand, I'm talking about the people outside. The ones outside are the shameless bad guys." "Uncle Long, we understand." Lung Ruoxue consoled. "That's good." Uncle Long was relieved. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue turned to look at her godfather, who was stomping his feet, and asked, "Godfather, what do you plan to do about the rumors outside?" "What can I do? Right now, everyone outside is saying that I'm seriously injured. If I were to appear in front of everyone in the divine realm alive and well, how disappointed would some people be? Let them do it. Let's see if they can make me fall in the end." The master of the Ning family shouted. Hearing her godfather's angry words, Lung Ruoxue held back her laughter and said, "Actually, it's good to let them run around blindly. I want to see how the major forces will react to this rumor. Of course, this will also determine what kind of attitude we will have towards them in the future." In fact, they were the ones who had spread the rumor, but they had only said that the Ning family had been attacked by the Divine Lord's estate. As for things like Godfather being injured, it became more and more outrageous after being imagined by the powerful people of the immortal realm, and there were all kinds of versions. Chapter 2955. The twins, 20. Some even said that the mist had turned her love to hate the Ning family, so she wanted to kill them. After all, she had done this kind of thing before, so it wouldn't be strange if she did it again. However, what made Lung Ruoxue speechless was that the rumored male lead had actually become her own godfather. The poor godfather had received the sympathy of countless people. Of course, there were also many people who supported Wu Jing, saying that she dared to love and hate. If she couldn't get it, she would destroy it completely and not let others benefit. She even said that she was the model of a real woman. When Lung Ruoxue heard all this, she only felt that the wind was blowing wildly. What the hell is this? It should be known that the original purpose of releasing the news was to make all the major forces in the divine world feel disgusted with the God Lord's estate. Now, things had turned out this way, which was absolutely beyond everyone's expectations. At the same time, it was not something they could control. As for how things would develop in the future, it was completely out of their expectations. Lung Ruoxue felt that the only thing she could do was to calm her godfather down. Let's do as Shuer says. They'll just watch and not speak. Master Ning agreed. After appeasing her godfather, Lung Ruoxue and the rest no longer bothered themselves with the matter. She finally put the crafting of the acquired chaos divine weapon back on her agenda. But after only half a month, Master Ning went crazy again. The cause was the rumor. According to the rumors, the master of the Ning family had passed away due to his serious injuries. There was even a certain Ning family member who was unwilling to reveal his name, who came out to cry and beg the major forces of the divine world to uphold justice for the Ning family. In an instant, the rumors that had been fading away started to spread again. This time, the news was even more widespread than last time, and even the 3-year-old knew that Master Ning had died. After that, some of the major forces who wanted to take advantage of the situation finally began to move. However, due to Lung Ruoxue's terror, most of the forces were still in a state of observing. After that, some impatient forces sent out remonstrations to all the major forces. They invited all the forces to the Ning family's main city in the Divine Territory to discuss the division of the Ning family's territory. After all, the force that sent out this remonstration was not stupid. The Ning family's piece of cake was too big for them to swallow. More importantly, even though Master Ning had fallen, there was still Lung Ruoxue, the big crocodile. Could she just watch the Ning family's territory belong to someone else? And among all the factions, Lung Ruoxue's demon city was undoubtedly the strongest. But money moved people's hearts. The Ning family's divine realm was too tempting, be it in terms of geographical location or resources. Hence, no matter how powerful Lung Ruoxue was, they would not allow her to monopolize everything. Sitting in the living room, Lung Ruoxue looked at her godfather, who was so angry that his face had turned black and he had nothing to say. She did not know how to comfort him. Things were out of control, and it was obvious that someone was taking the opportunity to cause trouble. But who had the guts to do so? Could it be Wu Han's instructions? Immediately, Lung Ruoxue denied such a guess. The ripple mist slut shouldn't be so brainless. Godfather, I want to participate. Lung Ruoxue thought for a moment before she spoke carefully. Go. All of you, go and take back more territory. Master Ning said helplessly. I don't want the territory. I just want to see how they've come to an agreement. I believe it will be very interesting. Lung Ruoxue replied honestly. What territory? It was good that there was enough. It was useless to have more. Shuer, that's my territory. It's the scale that I've worked hard for many years to reach. How can you despise it? I'm so sad. It's already pitiful enough that I've been rumored to have fallen, and now my goddaughter isn't even willing to help me fight for territory. Master Ning said, sobbing. Lung Ruoxue was speechless when she saw how shameless her godfather was. Song, who was lying in Lung Ruoxue's arms, laughed evilly. Ning family's boy, I've also heard about the death of that old woman Wien. Now you too, the unfortunate Mandarin ducks, can be considered to have a companion. Thanks your sister. Who would want to be that old woman's companion? However, it was Tsong who spoke, so Master Ning didn't dare to complain no matter how angry he was, and could only let him tease him. At this moment, someone came to report that the Cheng family head had arrived. Godfather, Clan Master Cheng is here too. Lung Ruoxue had only spoken half of her sentence when she heard Clan Master Cheng's hearty laughter. Shuer, I heard that your godfather has died? Ha! How could that guy die so early? He even died at the hands of his beloved. This is too unbelievable. As he spoke, the Cheng family's head had already stepped into the living room, accompanied by the Cheng family's young master, Cheng Xian. At this moment, Cheng Xian's face was filled with helplessness. He looked at Lung Ruoxue apologetically. You bastard! Who did you say died at the hands of the person you love? As soon as Master Cheng's words fell, Master Ning, who had been calm, became furious again. He vented all the depression that Tsong had given him. He didn't dare to do anything to Tsong, but he didn't dare to deal with Old Man Cheng? Just like that, the two old men, who were definitely not young, started fighting in the large living room. The Cheng family head laughed as he ran, not afraid of death. What? Did you come back to life? Hee hee, I just said that you died in the hands of the person you like. Your sister. You're looking for death. Master Ning was angry, but he still knew what to do. He knew that he couldn't really fight with Old Man Cheng in the living room, or they would be the ones suffering the loss. And Master Cheng seemed to know this too, so he knew his limits when teasing Master Ning. Seeing them chasing each other like children, the people present were a little speechless. How old are you to still play this kind of game? Swear, I'm sorry. We came as soon as we heard the news of Master Ning's death. Cheng Xian tried to explain. However, before he could finish his sentence, Lung Ruoxue interrupted him with a look of understanding. I know, I'm here to gloat. Ah. Cheng Xian instantly felt that it was better for him to keep his mouth shut. Just like that, no one said anything. They just calmly looked at the two old men chasing each other around the living room. When they were tired of the chase, the two of them automatically stopped. He had just sat down to drink some water and take a breath when the Cheng family head impatiently said, I'm here for the Ning family's divine realm. Master Cheng, are you interested in the Ning family's divine realm? Lung Ruoxue asked indifferently. Of course there is. Looking at Master Ning, Master Cheng continued with a smirk. Little girl Shui, you don't know, but among our 8 great divine domains, the Ning family's divine domain has the best geographical location. It's by the mountains and the sea, the environment is beautiful, it's really a rare tourist spot. Such a good place, which Force wouldn't want to share. Anyway, now that the old man is dead, the other people in the Ning family will definitely not be able to keep such a good place, so it's only a matter of time before it's divided. That's true. Lung Ruoxue nodded in agreement and added, originally, I wasn't interested in the Ning family's divine realm, but after hearing what you said, I feel that if I don't take action, it's really a loss. So, in order to let Godfather rest in peace, I, as his daughter, will have to work harder. Chapter 2956, The Twins, 21. You're right to think this way. This way, Old Man Ning will be at ease in the netherworld. The Cheng family's head said with a look of relief. By the way, in front of Master Ning, you're buried and you know what's going on in the underworld? Is it really good? At this moment, Master Ning was unexpectedly calm. Even Cheng Xian was so scared that he didn't dare to look at him, but Master Ning wasn't angry at all. Or was he already extremely angry? Swear, just bring me the location closest to Demon City. From time to time, Master Ning would even interrupt. Instantly, everyone was horrified. This was definitely the rhythm of being angered to the point of madness. 2 days later, with a trace of uneasiness, under Master Ning's resentful gaze, Lung Ruoxue brought evildoer, Song, Uncle Long, Dongfang Yu, Mu Li, who insisted on following her, and 2 members of the Cheng family to the Ning family's divine realm. At this moment, the Ning family's divine realm had almost fallen into a disorderly and chaotic state because they were a group of dragons without a leader. Originally, most of the shops in the major cities were owned by the Ning family. Now that the Ning family had collectively moved and was undergoing special training, there was naturally no one to manage the shops. There were even many shops that had changed owners. Of course, it was stolen. AI. It's a pity. Walking on the streets of a certain city in the Ning family's divine domain, the Cheng family's head felt heartache as he looked at the various shops that were already in a state of complete ruin. All of this was money. However, Lung Ruoxue wasn't as sad as the Cheng clan's clan head. She knew that her godfather had already packed all the valuable items that he could. What was left behind were just some fixed assets. Unless someone sabotaged them, they would never be lost. As for now, this was only temporary. Lung Ruoxue was clear that after Rime Ice was destroyed, the Ning family would return. The group walked and looked around, and soon arrived at the Ning family's main city. After being invited into the Ning family's main residence, Lung Ruoxue was rather surprised to see the other party acting as if he was the master of the house. They hadn't even allocated their territories yet, and they already thought of themselves as the master? As guests, Lung Ruoxue and the others were exceptionally cooperative with the other party's arrangements. This made the other party extremely satisfied. At the same time, he also gave the other party the impression that Lung Ruoxue was nothing much. Little girl, do you know the background of this force? After settling down in the guest courtyard, Lung Ruoxue and the rest had just gathered in the living room when Clan Master Cheng asked in a low voice with a mysterious expression. I don't know, Lung Ruoxue was very honest. To her, no power could compare to the power of Fog City. Hence, she had no intention of knowing who the other party was. No matter who it was, in her eyes, they were just clowns. It's related to the Yao family. The Qing family head said. The Yao family? The Yao family head has come out again? Lung Ruoxue was very surprised. It was said that ever since that old man's scheme against her failed, he went into seclusion. Why was he so active again? Did he really think that his godfather had died? I don't know if the Yao family's old man played a role in this. However, the force that invited us here is surnamed Chao. It was originally a middle-class force and was in-laws with the Yao family. It was only because it had latched onto the Yao family's thigh that it developed rapidly. Now, it can barely squeeze into the top force. The Xiao family has been quite active recently. The Qing family head said with a smile. I see. Lung Ruoxue expressed that she understood. However, the Cheng family's head continued to happily share the gossip of the Xiao family with everyone, leaving everyone dumbfounded. Thanks in the end, the Xiao family's daughter was fancied by a grand elder of the Yao family, and she was successfully married into the other party's 18th concubine. After saying this, the Cheng family head continued to expose, Shui, I heard that this daughter of the Xiao family looks a little like you. She's also known as Little Lung Ruoxue. Everyone was silent. Lung Ruoxue felt as if 10,000 alpacas had whizzed past her heart. Why did she feel like beating someone up so much? Calm down, I know you don't feel good about it, but we can't stop them from using this gimmick. Don't you agree? Master Cheng's smile was rippling. It was obvious that he was not gloating over Master Ning's death enough, and now he was teasing Lung Ruoxue. Patriarch Cheng, do you have a grudge against the Xiao family? Taking in a deep breath, Lung Ruoxue forced herself to calm down. Don't fall for the Chung clan head's trick. This fellow has learned to be bad. No, I didn't. Although there were idiots in my family who were seduced, they asked for it. They can't blame anyone. The Cheng family's head said indifferently, but in his heart he was gnashing his teeth in hatred. If it wasn't for the Yao family's old fart blocking him, he would have already killed that little bitch from the Xiao family. Your sister. They had bullied the Cheng family, and they thought that the Cheng family was a pushover? However, even though the Cheng clan's clan head was furious, he knew that with the Yao clan's protection, it was impossible for him to kill the daughter of the Xiao clan openly. After all, he was not Lung Ruoxue, and he could not let the Yao clan be afraid of him. That was why he had taken the opportunity to say those words. Lung Ruoxue immediately understood. So this old man had said so much to kill with a borrowed knife. However, she didn't think of herself as a demoness who would kill without blinking. If that woman didn't provoke her, she wouldn't do anything. After making his intentions clear to the Chung clan head, the Chung clan head's smile became even more wretched. Swear, based on my understanding of that adulterous couple, they will definitely take the initiative to provoke you. So, I'm just waiting for you to help me vent my anger. Alright, Lung Ruoxue admitted. Although he was suspected of being used, this old man was so open and honest that it was impossible to hate him. Lung Ruoxue was a little depressed. After waiting for a few days, all the invited major forces had finally arrived. During the first full member meeting, Lung Ruoxue could clearly feel two pairs of eyes staring at her. One of them was extremely intense, while the other turned into countless daggers that were glaring at her. He looked in the direction of her gaze. A young man and woman were sitting diagonally above her. The man looked to be in his early 20s. When he saw Lung Ruoxue looking over, he even threw her a flirtatious look. The woman had a beautiful face and a cold temperament. At first glance, she looked very high-end and classy. Of course, The premise was that she did not sit on the man's lap in public as if no one was around. Swear, they're the couple I was talking about. The Cheng clan's clan head, who was sitting beside Lung Ruoxue, reminded her mischievously. You said he looks like my woman? Lung Ruoxue asked in surprise. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.